So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Paul Kauku. He's a member of the National Steering Committee. He'll be in charge of all questions and concerns. So, in case you have any, please reach out to him. Sometimes you can be calling me and I'm not able to pick your call. So, we've designated Paul to deal with all queries, and those that he cannot handle will be able to see how he can reach out to me. So Paul is in charge, but if you have any other that you think the secretary can assist at the registration desk, they'll be able to assist you, or he'll be able to direct you where you can get assistance. So if you don't have a bags, I know most of us have not collected. The people who are designated to deal with your registration have all the bags. And if you do not have now, do not worry, get at tea break. I'll ensure they all come here during tea break so that we get our bags. Thank you very much. Let's clap for Paul, who has accepted to take that role. Karibu Mzee Seth.
Thank you. Asante Jamima. Nikizingatia itifaki zote kwa heshima na taadhima, kabla sijaanza maombi, kwa kawaida hii mfumo ya kuweza kutatua matatizo nje ya mahakama pakubwa inakubaliana na dini zetu zote. Utamaduni ilikuja nyuma, katiba mama ilikuja nyuma, lakini tulipoumbwa Mwenyezi Mungu alituumba na akatupatia mwelekeo kupitia manabii na vitabu vyetu, Wakristo na Waislamu na wengine. Kwa hivyo hii mfumo ukiangalia kwa kina imekubalika katika dini zetu zote, na kitu ambayo Mwenyezi Mungu amekubali ina baraka nyingi sana, si namna hiyo? Na Mwenyezi Mungu anapenda amani. Kesho nitazungumzia kwa kina wakati nitapewa jukwaa, lakini kwa leo ni hayo ya pili. Mambo ya AJS ni kusameheana, na nyinyi ni binadamu, hamkosi kasoro, hamkosi kero. Kama kuna mtu alikukosea au umekosewa, wewe msamehe, sawa sawa, na msamehe kwa dhati. Usiseme I forgiven, I will not forget. That's not the religious theological theory. Forgive and forget. Hiyo ndio mzuri ili uishi vizuri. Basi taomba kidogo kwa sababu muda ni mchache, lakini tunashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Kwa jina la Mwenyezi Mungu mwingi wa rehema, mwenye kurehemu. Ewe Mola, tunakushukuru kwa dhati kwa kuwezesha hii awamu ya 4 ya hii mfumo ya AJS kuweza kufanikiwa katika jimbo hili la Embu. Tunashukuru pia kwa siku ya jana ambayo ilikamilika sawa sawa na mambo yote ikaenda vile ilivyopangwa. Tunakuomba leo zidi kutuongoza, zidi kutubariki, zidi kutulinda, ili yote yale ambayo tutajadiliana iweze kuwa na baraka ndani yake. Tunaiombea nchi hii amani na uwiano. Tunaombea vijana wetu ambao ndio nguvu kazi ya nchi hii, zidi kuwabariki ili hata hawa waweze kutatua matatizo yao kwa njia ya amani na uwiano. Tunaiombea jopo letu ambayo inaongozwa na Profesa Ngugi, zidi kuwapa nguvu kwa hali na mali ili waweze kuhitimisha kazi hii ambayo walianza miaka 11 iliyopita kwa njia ambayo itakuwa na manufaa kwa taifa hili na vizazi vyake. Tunaombea wale wote ambao wamekuja hapa, ndugu zetu, dada zetu, kaka zetu, wasomi wote, zidi kuwabariki ili taaluma zao ziweze kutumika kutatua matatizo yetu, na mwisho tuishi kwa amani na uwiano, na tukitoka kwa dunia hii tufike kwako kwa njia ya amani. Tunaombea wale wote ambao wako na changamoto mbalimbali, wale ambao wako wagonjwa mahospitalini, wale ambao wako na changamoto za kibinadamu, wabariki, waondolee hizo changamoto ili hata hao wawe na furaha katika mioyo zao. Tunaomba vile vile, sisi ni binadamu, hatukosi kasoro kidogo kidogo hapa na pale, utusamehe kwa dhambi zetu. Tunatubu pengine kwa yale makosa kidogo kidogo ambayo tumefanya, kujua au kutojua, ili pia roho zetu zikae sawa. Amin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hamjambo. Watu hawajakula breakfast? Hamjambo. That's much better. So today is our second day of our fourth annual AJS conference. I hope you had fun yesterday. Did you? And I hope we got to learn new things yesterday. Did we? Very good. Now, Waswahili walisema ukiviona vyaelea, ukiviona vyaelea vimeundwa, ujue vimeundwa. So I know one of the things that we are trying to do is to run this train on time. So even though not everybody is in the room, we want to start the day. Watatukuta tukiendelea, si ndio? Kuliko tuwangoje alafu sisi wote tuchelewe. Labda kesho watakuja on time because they will find the train has already left the station. But I wanted to start the day by acknowledging, I think we probably didn't do this very well yesterday, that this conference is not my conference. This conference is hosted by the National Steering Committee on AJS. So the jopo lote la AJS ndio host wa conference hii tunayofanya leo. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa naomba wale ambao committee members who are here, if you can please just stand so that people know you, they can see you, and I will tell you the reason I am making you stand. These are some of our members here of the National Steering Committee. As you can see, it's a very inclusive committee. It includes everybody from the justice sector. Naomba tuwapigie makofi for a good conference they are hosting for us. We acknowledge you and we thank you. The only thing I can give you for all the hard work you do in this committee is my eternal gratitude. And I'm making you stand in part because I want, unajua wanasema maombi ya wazee haina pazia, si ndio? Kwa hivyo naomba msimame kwa sababu hao wazee najua watakapoenda nyumbani leo kabla wajalala watawaombea. Hiyo ndo baraka zenu na hiyo ndo ile mshahara mtapata duniani. Asanteni sana. We were told if you have any logistical questions, kama una maswali ya hii conference, badges, mahali unapolala, chakula, registration, tumeambiwa tutauliza mwanajopo ambaye anaitwa Paul. Paul bado yuko? Yule aliyesimama pale, huyo ndo tutamuuliza any questions about logistics. But if you have any questions, conceptual questions on AJS, any conceptual questions on AJS, those people who are just stood up, those are the committee members. Those are the ones we'll ask. Those are the ones you will ask any conceptual questions you may ask. Na kama unaona bado uko na swali zaidi utauliza headmaster wetu. Headmaster wetu kwa committee ni Dr. Akoth. Dr. Akoth simama. Huyo ndio headmaster. Kwa hivyo kama uko na swali ile unaona ni ngumu sana inaweza jibiwa tu na headmaster, huyo ndio headmaster utamuuliza hilo swali la AJS. So feel free to ask any questions that may be coming up because also those questions let us know some of the conceptual areas or doctrinal areas we need to address. Now, yesterday we spent a lot of the day really talking about the promises of people-centered justice, the promises of AJS. That was most of the day. And we described what is happening, how community justice is being produced, generated, and who is producing them. We spent quite a lot of the day doing that. Today, we want to turn our attention really mainly to towards the main theme of the conference. We want to turn our attention to measuring justice. How do we know that justice is happening? We start clipping at that question. one of the things that we realized from yesterday's speeches was that the next frontier of AJS will have to be evidence. Awamu ambayo inakuja katika njia mbadala za kutafuta haki itakuwa ni kutafuta ushahidi wa kwamba haki inapatikana na inafanyika kwenye mfumo huu wa kupata haki, kwa njia hizi mbadala za kupata haki. Kwa hivyo leo tunaanza kuuliza hilo swali kwa kinagaubaga. Tunaanza kuuliza, je, ni vipi tutajua kwamba haki inafanyika, inatendeka? Na ni vipi tutakavyoanza kupima hiyo haki? Licha tu ya kuhesabu kesi na mafiles yaliyofungwa. Leo tutaanza kuuliza hilo swali, na kwa hivyo tunawakaribisha sana kwa sessions za leo. Tafadhali tuje sote tushirikiane kuanza kujibu hilo swali. I am really looking forward to today's sessions because we now start chipping at that question conceptually. Because as we said, we are now done with the normative arguments for AJS. We now start what is the proof of concept that AJS is working, and it's working differently, and how then do we measure justice that is being produced in that sphere of justice ecosystem. And then in turn, we ask the questions, what can that also tell us about how we measure justice in the court system? So welcome to today's sessions. And as we begin, I want us to begin just to ground us with a short keynote. Is Dr. here? Is Dr. Campbell here? He's not here yet? Okay, we're supposed to start with a keynote, but I think this is AJS, it's organic. We can move swiftly to the panel. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Akoth, the Vice Chair, who will moderate the next sessions. I hope your panelists are here, so you can call them to the table. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Akoth to this session.
Habari za asubuhi. Asalamu alaikum. Nimeonywa kuwa leo nisizungumze Kiswahili kwa sababu kuna watu walichanganyikiwa sana. Sasa wacha nijaribu Kiingereza. Let me try English. Thank you very much, Chair, Justice Professor Joel Ngugi, and to all of you for being here early and bright. It's indeed true, as the judge has said, we had anticipated to have a keynote, but then I think there's a little delay, so we will hear him on another day. Our panel this morning is very, very exciting. We had scheduled to have 4 people, but somehow they have mutated to 2 people. So, to 3 people, sorry. So we had, first of all, my sister, Husna Mubarak, who works with FAO, and she tells me that they are working on some urgent things in Nairobi, and therefore she couldn't come. But FAO, which stands for Food and Agriculture Organization, is a very solid partner of our committee. In fact, this tent is here courtesy of FAO. So let's give them an applause, even in abstention. Thank you. However, I do have my very, very good friends, and it's always good to have a panel of friends. We have good friends here. One is Dr. Osewe. I would like you to come and take the front seat so that it will be easier for us to proceed. Dr. Osewe is Director Planning and Organizational Management at the judiciary, and we also share one name. The middle name, Ouma. He's also called Dr. Ouma, and so I'm so glad to have him in the panel. Then you have my other brother, Dr. Wambua. Dr. Wambua is the executive director of the Kituo cha Sheria. Dr. Wambua, I saw him this side. Yes, come doc, and is also an elegant thinker with whom we have quite a long history on this subject. I'm told that we are going to be substituting our colleague from Chicago. We had initially anticipated to have a professor from Chicago, but I think his colleague is here. We had initially thought that we would be having Professor Evan, but yes, Prof is here, and so Prof will give us a little bit more about a bit more details about himself when he starts. But let me just ground this session by, if I could get the mobile mic. Somebody the mobile mic? Paul, check the mobile mic. Let me ground this session by posing a very important question. Why are we interested on data? Why are we so invested on this data question? I have one slide here that I would like you to watch with me, a one slide movie. Kwa nini takwimu ni muhimu kwetu? Number one, data is important. Is the mobile mic coming? So data is important because, first of all, it helps us improve people's lives. Data helps us improve people's lives, improving the quality of people's lives. And that is so central because this is why we are focused on people-centered justice. Number two, data is important because it informs decisions. Data informs decisions. It takes away, thank you very much. It takes away, when you see somebody tapping or doing, that's a Kenyan, you know. They always tap or say hello, hello. So data informs decision making. The third reason why data is so important is because data helps us to monitor major trends of justice. It shows us what is happening, what is the flow. So data is important for that reason. The fourth reason in my highlight is that data helps us to measure how the institution is performing. The institution of judiciary, the institutions of AJS, it helps us to see, to measure how they are performing. And remember, this measure of performance links to number one. The measure of performance is what is it doing, what is happening to people's lives. Number five, data helps us to find the real problem. The real problem, because it helps us to decipher between symptoms and the problem. And that's, again, the role of data. Number six, data helps us in constituency building, because you know who are the people who look alike, who do the things alike, and then you can galvanize them. So data helps us in constituency building. It helps us to know who should rally together. Number seven, data helps us to strengthen our arguments for systems change. You can say things are not working, but how do we frame the story? How do we frame the narrative? And data is very important in helping us in that advocacy endeavor to frame systems change, to frame how the story should sound like. Number eight, data helps us to identify the high-performing program. We can be doing, and we do many, many things. But for you to know which one should we build on, which one should we escalate, which one should we mainstream, which one should we accelerate, data helps us to identify that. What is the program that is performing? What is the option that is performing? Number nine, data helps us in mapping resources. You may be living in an ecosystem, and you don't know really that there's another resource that exists in the same ecosystem, but data, when you document it, you'll get to know. For example, you are a head of station, you are grappling with matters, but data will help you know that there are wazees, there are youth groups, there are mamas who are doing good justice work that can help you to unlock that which looks like a puzzle. Number 10, and this is very important, data represents us. When we are not there on the policy table, how many people are using AJS? Data is the one that will represent us. How are they using it? Data will represent us. So data gives us a voice. And most important, I go back to number 2. Data is knowledge. Data is knowledge. And knowledge is power. So these are the central issues, and we as NACI AJS committee believe that justice data has potential to highlight a variety of ways of measuring justice processes and outcomes, and in an attempt to uncover what are previously unseen. So part of why we are very interested in this is to see properly. Those of us from biblical tradition, you know of this miracle that is talked about of people seeing things like trees and then seeing things clearly. So data helps us to see clearly. For AJS, it's work to be visible. Data is so important. So you see, data has multiple functions, and that is really what informs, as our Chair Justice Ngugi has said, the centrality of this data question. With that foregrounding, I now want to request my panelists to kindly come and take their seats here. So Dr. Osewe, Professor Dr. Wambua, please come and let's have our seats here so that then it would be easier to engage. Please come. Thank you. Karibuni sana. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad none of you took the red seat. Because data shows us that seat is for the powerful. And the powerful is not here, so I will also take the seat. So we will have a conversation that will be fairly interactive. What we'll do is I'll invite all my eminent panelists to start by giving a short submission on a couple of discussion areas. What we are interested in is first to get to know what they are doing in their endeavors to measure justice. And after that, we'll go into innovations that is emerging from that, and ultimately we'll go into what we can harvest from that. I want to start with Dr. Osewe to just give a little bit of a background about what you're doing on these justice measuring questions, and then we proceed from there. Please feel free also to give a little bit of a biographical detail about yourself, which in other English they say, introduce yourself a little bit more for our participants to know you, and then proceed. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ouma Akoth. Your Lordships, the judges, let me ride on the protocols already laid earlier. My name is Dr. Joseph Ouma Osewe. I'm the Director of Strategy, Planning, and Organizational Productivity in the judiciary. Talking a little bit about myself is that in the judiciary, I'm the one responsible for data and statistics. I hold a PhD in business administration. I hold double masters in data science and also another master's in business administration. And I hold also a postgraduate diploma in data analytics. I hold also a Bachelor of Technology degree. I also hold various certifications in performance, monitoring, and evaluation. Let me not go into that. I'm happy to have been invited here to be one of the discussants on data. And I think this is a very good session because we'll be allowed to think outside the box. And this comes at the right time when the judiciary is rolling out AJS. And for us, AJS is a game changer. And we should see how data will help us measure what is important in AJS. Because they say, if you want to improve, measure it. If you can't measure it, make it measurable. So thank you very much with that brief introduction. Thank you.
Dr. Wambua.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, fellow participants, good morning. My name is Wambua Kituku. I'm the Executive Director of Kituo cha Sheria. I'm an advocate of the High Court. I'm also trained in environmental law up to doctorate level. I possess 2 degrees less than Dr. Sewe here. Kituo, as you know, is one of the oldest human rights organizations in Kenya, but we have the distinguished credential of being the oldest legal aid provider in Kenya. So over the years, we realized that giving legal assistance and representation was not enough because people kept on coming. So we started asking ourselves, why do people always come for legal aid? And in answering that question, we realized that there are systemic, structural reasons why people come to us. And then, therefore, we started asking ourselves, so what can we do to address those systemic roots of injustices that keep on bringing people to us? So we realized that some of those roots are linked to laws, policies, societal norms. So then how do we address that? So policy, legislative advocacy became critical to our work. And for us to do policy and legislative advocacy, we also need evidence, hence data, hence research. So research is a critical part of our mandate as Kituo. And much of that research speaks to the topic that we'll be discussing today. So currently we have a huge program supported by IDRC of Canada that looks at legal empowerment within the context of advancing climate justice in Kenya. We're also running that program in other 2 countries in the region, in Malawi and also in Uganda and Rwanda. We've also partnered with HEAL. We are carrying out a background research to AJS as a precursor to the Justice Needs Survey that they'll be conducting later this year. So in a nutshell, that's what we do at Kituo, and that's how it relates to the subject that we're discussing here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, judges, fellow conference participants. It's an honor for me to be here today. My name is Daniel McConkey. I am a professor of law from Northern Illinois University, which is a public school near Chicago. I wasn't on the program. You expected to hear from my colleague, Judge Timothy Evans, who I work with on restorative justice matters. Judge Evans is a passionate jurist and visionary and wanted to be here today to meet all of you, but was unable to attend to the last minute. But I am here mostly to learn from you, but also to give maybe a comparative perspective, a little bit about alternative justice systems in the United States. I'm a lawyer. I have a Juris Doctorate from Stanford University. I am a former prosecutor. I sometimes say I'm a recovering prosecutor. It's a hard job, and alternative justice systems are a different way of looking at some of the same problems. If I have the chance, I'll tell you a little bit this morning about restorative justice efforts in Chicago. That's what Judge Evans has been working on, and the success of those programs and how we know that those programs are successful, how we measure that success. So I look forward to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. And now you have the chance. So if we could start with you then into the substantive conversation, just give us a little bit of an outlay of how your program works and what kind of data have you been capturing over time? And what does that tell you about the justice questions, the justice gaps, and how to see whether people are realizing justice or not?
Well, the reason I'm here to study justice systems in Kenya is because you have made much more progress on alternative justice systems than we have in the United States. You have a rich history yeah, I should clap for you. You have a rich history and collective wisdom of the Kenyan people, and you're coming up with both traditional ways, but also innovative ways. They're one and the same sometimes to deal with these issues. And so I find it very fascinating. In the United States, we have one system. We too are a former colony of the British. We have a system of criminal justice that looks a lot like your state system, and we have many deficiencies in that system. And so restorative justice is one of our most promising reforms. It's still very small. The basic idea of restorative justice, as we use the term in the United States, is that crime represents a breakdown in relationships, and the justice system should seek to heal, to repair, and a focus on punishment is not conducive always to healing and repairing. In Chicago, we've established several restorative justice courts that have been very successful. The basic idea of these courts, I should say in the first place, they're very small because Americans are skeptical about alternative justice systems. And I noted from the slide up there that one reason we need data is to make a right. And so I'll explain what data are persuasive to Americans. They may not be as persuasive to Kenyans, you know better than I. But the Chicago courts are for young people, mostly young men, ages 18 to 26, who live in high crime neighborhoods, and they've been charged with misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. So it's a very small group. And if they live in the particular neighborhood, they can go to these restorative justice courts. They are charged with a crime, but they have an opportunity to have the charges dismissed if they can successfully complete the program. We call that a diversion program. And the way they get the charges dismissed is by meeting with stakeholders in a restorative justice circle. They meet with victims and community members, including pastors. I'm also a pastor. They discuss in a circle the harm that crime has done and how the harm might be rectified. And they arrive at what we call a reparation of harm agreement, kind of a contract. And the offender will make an apology, hopefully a written apology, agree to community service, agree to restitution to victims, perhaps receive counseling, additional education, drug treatment, whatever it is to try to make the situation better. This program has had hundreds of successes. This is a small pool out of tens of thousands of cases, right? We're starting small. To say something about how we measure success. Justice is hard to define, and therefore it is hard to measure. The three principal metrics we use in the United States for alternative justice systems such as this are first, recidivism. Does an offender who has gone through a program, does he have less of a likelihood of repeating the crime? That's very persuasive. Second, the victim satisfaction. I noticed one reason we collect data is to improve lives. Interestingly, in the United States, victims for a long time had a very minimal role in criminal justice, even though they had a maximal role in the initial crime that was the foundation of the case. And so it's somewhat revolutionary to ask crime victims, what do you think about the process of justice? How has it affected you? And we pay close attention to that number, and that has resonance for American voters. The third criterion that we use is cost savings, right? In America, we've spent so much money on criminal justice, and it hasn't changed things as much as we'd like. And so obviously alternative justice systems are so inexpensive, and that is persuasive to American voters. Well, I think that's a nutshell. I don't want to go on too long, Doctor. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. And maybe Dr. Sarah, you could pick it up from there. And the
Sure.
question therefore is, what kind of data have you been pulling together as a department? And what does that tell you about justice gaps and about who is actually achieving their justice needs?
Thank you so much, Daktari. We collect a lot of data, and let me say, judiciary today possesses more justice data than any other time. Let me start with the mainstream. The mainstream data, we have data on case life cycle and performance data. So that is in terms of mainstream, that is the institutional data. So we have things like filings, we have resolutions, we have ratios that shows us how cases are moving, we look at adjournments. So that's one category of data that we have. We also have a lot of data regarding access in terms of geographic and institutional access data. We can tell you which courts are where, which high courts are in which county. We can tell you average distance to court. We can tell you how many courts do we have and how many judicial officers we have. So that's another category of data that we have. We also have data on digital justice, just to say that who is using our digital platforms, because largely we've moved from manual system to digital systems. The patterns of utilization, we can tell you about that. We also have data on alternative justice systems. And by this, allow me to say, maybe I'm not very clear here, but we collect data on court annex mediation. We collect data on AJS, diversion programs, and other dispute resolution mechanisms. But allow me to say this, in terms of AJS, what we've been measuring, because the first step was institutionalization of AJS. When you are institutionalizing AJS, you are bound to measure inputs and processes. So you are bound to measure activities. And therefore, the first step is, for example, to have registers. So if you are using the model where you are using court annexed AJS, where cases are being referred from the courts to AJS, then you need to have registers and know how many cases have been referred from the courts to AJS. If you want to know what's happening in AJS, you need to capture success stories from those AJS interventions. And I think this we've even published in Soja Report, the successful stories from AJS. You need to sensitize. So we measure those engagements. So that we have huge amounts of data. But now, what needs to be done, my view, is we need to move a step further and start measuring outcomes. Not access, but now outcomes. Those people who have gone through these processes, the AJS processes, what is the justice realization? That is what we need to know. Yes, the case was resolved, but did it create social harmony after the case resolution? That is the gap that we are having, that we have not been able to measure outcomes. I am saying this because all measures are important, but depending on the context. There's a time you need activity measures. There's a time you need output measures. There's a time you need outcome measures. So the gap that we are having now, especially with AJS, is outcome measures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Ambua, actually the same question from your side as Secretary Sharia in terms of what kind of data do you have on the various legal aid and interventions you've been having, and what does this data tell you, and what lacuna are you seeing in this data?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Koth, for that question. For us, there are three types of justice measurements, conventional justice measurements that have been employed over the years are still relevant to what we do at Kituo. Let me start with what Dr. Sewa said here. The institutional metrics of justice, just looking at how many people have filed cases, what's the progress of those cases, how many have been resolved, how many are still pending, backlogs and stuff like that, courts, how many court stations. That data is still important for us because it still helps us as civil society organizations know where is the gap, where are courts missing, where are judicial personnel not posted to address the justice problems there. So that still is important to us. And within the context of AJS, and knowing the various mechanisms that are provided for under the AJS policy, I think it's still important. We need to know how many justice suites have been established in the Republic, how many counties have county action plans. And we also need a mapping of the third-party mechanisms, which are quite fluid and sometimes very organic in our country. So that data, I think, is still important. Then justice has also been measured with regards to rights, satisfaction of rights or realization of rights. And for instance, are people able to access justice? Access to justice is a right. So are people able to access courts? So again, within the context of AJS, yeah, it would be good to know. So how many people have had a problem, justice problem, really wanted to access an AJS mechanism near them? How many successfully did that? How many did not? I think that, and why? I think that is important for our work because Kituo, together with other civil society organizations, we are working with the judiciary to popularize the policy. And we're also working hard to build capacity of AJS practitioners so that they're able to dispense those justice services to the locals. So we need that data so that we're able to lobby for more resources. And studies have also shown that funding for AJS mechanisms, frontline justice actors, tends to give much more social returns than investment in mainstream justice services. So that's an area that we also need to bring to the attention of policymakers. Then also satisfaction of rights, realization of rights, because justice is about that. You took your dispute to court, did you get a remedy? And does that remedy lead to realization of the, does it remedy the violation that you suffered? So from a rights-based approach, I think we also need to see those statistics. How many people are getting remedies? And that's now for judiciary. That's something you also need to improve because I was looking at SOJA, looking at statistics on restitution, how many magistrates, how many judges have issued restitution orders as part of the sentencing orders. And I didn't seem to see that. So if we can start seeing that kind of data, then we also start asking ourselves, is judiciary also walking the talk when it comes to application of AJS within the context of ensuring restitution, is accomplished. Then the third way of measuring justice, and this is the new approach, people-centered approach. Professor here talked about satisfaction, so the experience of users. So how did I experience justice in my justice journey? In the formal, in the alternative, was I treated with dignity? I think that's the most important thing. Because how you treat people also shapes their perception as to whether they are receiving justice from you as a justice provider or facilitator. Then also, trust. Do you trust this mechanism? Do our people trust AJS? Do they trust the formal mechanisms? So I think we also need that data. And lastly, the issue of the outcomes. So did I get restitution? Was there restoration? Was there reconciliation? Even though sometimes I think we overemphasize reconciliation as an outcome of justice, because who said that conflict is necessarily a bad thing? I mean, Marxists tell us conflict is what brings progress, yeah? So if reconciliation was the desired end of this justice journey, so have I gotten reconciliation? So maybe those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. And also reconciliation, broadening the indicators of justice. We look at it in a very anthropocentric way. I think I learned that the other day we were having the colloquium there. So is it also possible to broaden things like reconciliation to also include ecological perspectives? Have we reconciled with the environment? Have we ensured ecological integrity? Today on my way here, I heard in the radio a senator from Kilifi urging residents to kill elephants that are harassing villagers there. So my question, should that senator be charged with incitement? And would that charge stand? Because it's against animals, yeah? Or is animal property? But no. Shouldn't we view those elephants as beings that have rights, that should also enjoy security and stuff like that? So within the context of AJS, if AJS has a role to play in realizing ecological justice, so should we also look at reconciliation between man and the environment as an outcome of justice that needs to be measured? So sorry, in a nutshell, those are my thoughts about this. Thank you.
Very much, Daktari. One of the things you realize, members, is that we've now moved from this question of just measuring, counting cases to measuring justice. And I really like what the panelists have done there. And I think this shift is the most important thing and significant thing that we bring to the table, that beyond counting the files, the question is, what are the various other indicators, ways of seeing that justice has been done, both within the process and as an outcome? Now, and because we are experts, and this is just before we open the floor for some Q&A, I'll be asking Dr. Wambua and Dr. Sewe to answer this question in Swahili. Prof will be allowed to answer this question in English. Now, you as experts, ni mbinu zipi za utafiti ambazo mnapendekeza ili sasa tupate takwimu mnazozungumzia, ambazo ni takwimu za kuona kuwa haki imetendeka, sio takwimu tu za kuhesabu faili na kuhesabu kesi? Ni mbinu zipi za kisayansi, za kiutafiti ambazo mnapendekeza, hata kama hiyo ni utafiti kireketwa, lakini ni mbinu zipi? So the question is really, so what methods, scientific methods, are you suggesting that we ought to adopt as experts, as activist researchers, to gather this type of evidence that moves beyond just counting of cases, counting of disputes, to measuring justice? We'll start with you, Prof, in Kenyan English, and then after that, my colleagues will speak in Swahili. But for you, you'll speak in English.
Thank you. My brothers here have much more training in statistical than I do, but I can say we have to be careful with statistics because they don't always measure what our ultimate value is, and so my first thought in responding to your question, Dr. Ari, is that if our desire in a particular AJS process, for example, is reconciliation, for example, and there are many other values we might have, but if it's reconciliation, I think qualitative survey evidence is very helpful. Simply asking participants a common set of questions, and while their answers cannot all be reduced to codes, there are ways to code it and analyze it. But the stories of AJS, they move people, they persuade, and so that's my first idea.
Thank you.
Asante sana Dr. Ouma, najua unaniringia sababu unaweza ongea Swahili sanifu na mimi niko na shida ya kuongea Swahili. mnajua natoka pande gani za Kenya. Kwa hivyo utaniruhusu niongee kwa lugha ya Kimombo tafadhali. My understanding of this is I think we need to address justice needs. You are calling it counting. That counting is important also. But on the context of AJS, we need to address the justice needs. You know, somebody who needs justice, was that need met? That is where we need to move from. And that's why in my earlier presentation, I was talking about outcome, moving to outcome measures. Let me just give you an example of children cases. There are various stages. There is preliminary investigation, there is community conferencing, there is diversion. All those stages of children matters. Determine the pathway of justice for a child. Through preliminary investigations, you're able to tell which pathway. When you do the community conferencing, you're able to tell the pathway. So the data that we capture right now is not able to tell us that. So we need to move to that level. If we talk about the AJS pathway, how did it end? Yes, a case has been resolved, but do those people still go back and continue fighting? So we need to move to that. You find also most of the research that we do, we go to communities, we collect data, we come and analyze, and we give them the feedback. But do we even involve them? Do we even involve them in terms of data collection so that they are part of the process? So when we want to do outcome measures, and just riding on what Professor said here, we need to involve communities to be part of the process. We need to measure the outcome, the justice realization of this process. I think that's where we need to move to, so that we look at an individual. What is the individual's pathway or individual journey through this justice process? We don't look at institutional. What we are having now is institutional data. We need to look at the individual who has gone through the AJS process. And was he satisfied or was she satisfied with the process? Thank you.
Oh, sasa, asante sana. Nitajaribu kwa Kiswahili na nikishindwa nitaongeza Kizungu. Kwani iko nini? Kwanza kabisa, naona kuna umuhimu wa kujumuisha hizi mikakati zote, ya? So we need an integrated approach. Sisi kama vikundi vya kijamii huwa tunatumia hizo qualitative methods ambazo profesa amesema. Hizo za kwenda kuongea na watu, kujua mawazo yao, hali zao, hisia zao, maono yao na kadhalika kuhusu mambo ya justice. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni muhimu. Lakini vile vile tunahitaji hizo statistics, hizo takwimu za idadi. Hizo ni muhimu kabisa. So tujaribu kujumuisha haya yote. Vile vile kuna umuhimu wa kujua yale mambo ambayo nilikuwa nasema, idadi kuhusu kesi, koti, bei, gharama na mambo kama hayo. Hiyo ni muhimu hasa kwa AJS. Lakini hata hivyo ni vizuri tujue, je, wanao tafuta haki kupitia mfumo wa AJS. Hali yao imekuwa vipi? Wamenufaika, wamesaidika, haki zao zimetimizwa, ya? So hiyo pia ni muhimu. Kwa hivyo ni mbinu gani ambazo tunaweza tumia? Tumekuwa tukitumia vikundi kama HIL kufanya hii kazi na wamefanya vizuri sana. Ile utafiti walifanya mwaka wa 2018, 2019 ilituwezesha sisi kama nchi kujua ni vipi mambo ya haki hapa nchini. What is the justice gap? Na tumekuwa tukitumia hizo takwimu kuweza kuongea na serikali na jamii, ni vipi tunaweza eneza ama sambaza hii mambo ya haki nchini. Lakini kando na hayo, mimi naona kuna umuhimu pia tujaribu kutumia mfumo wa takwimu wa kitaifa, ile ambayo tunaita National Statistical System. Hapa Kenya, ile Kenya National Bureau of Statistics huwa inasifika sana bara la Afrika kwa ile kazi ambayo wanatenda. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu pia tuanze kujumulisha hiyo Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Mwaka wa 2029 kutakuwa na National Census. Na hiyo ni opportunity moja kubwa sana kwetu kama nchi kuuliza bureau waingize maswali mawili matatu manne kuhusu mambo ya haki. Na tunaweza uliza pia uulize mambo ya AJS. Wakihesabu watu, pia waulize watu, umepata shida ya haki? Umeenda kutafuta haki wapi? Kwa formal system, AJS, na katika mahali ulienda, ulipata haki, haki ilitendwa, ilitekelezwa. So, hizo twakimu zikitokelezea kwa National Census Report, itatusaidia sana. Vile vile, in between census, kunafanyangwa utafiti unaoitwa Kenya Demographic Household Survey. Pia tukiuliza Bureau of Statistics waingize hayo maswali pia, itatusaidia kuanza kuona hizi twakimu katika twakimu za kitaifa. Itasaidia kabisa. Lakini hata hivyo ni muhimu tujumulishe hizo twakimu za kitaifa na zile twakimu ambazo zinatengenezwa na vikundi kama sisi na HIL, ambazo Kenya National Bureau inaonelea hiyo ni citizen generated data. Yani hiyo sio official data, hiyo ni informal data. Uzuri hapa Kenya ni kwamba Kenya National Bureau of Statistics wametengeneza framework ya kurecognize citizen generated data. So mashirika kama sisi kituo, hii utafiti ambao tunafanya, ni vizuri tukae chini na Bureau of Statistics, tufanye hiyo validation ya twakimu zetu ambazo zinatumia hiyo qualitative approach. Wakizikubalia, bas zinakuwa recognized as official data na zinakuwa integrated pamoja na the formal sources ambazo zinaweza kubalika kila mahali. Hayo ndio maoni yangu. Asante sana.
Asante sana ndugu Wambua. Thank you very much, panel. I think we have really engaged this question. And the key thing coming up is that, so first of all, the method that seems more appropriate is a mixed method where you blend both the qualitative and quantitative approaches. But in doing that, return the context to the data. If you remove context from the data, you remove the feelings, you remove the history, you remove the personal, judgment that the victim or the justice seeker may have had. This context thing is very important. And one of the problems we have in hard statistics, as Dr. Sewe said, is this removal of context. Another thing also that I think Dr. Wambua has emphasized that is very important, let us stop this island approach. So let's ensure that this justice question remains a persistent question in all our data regimes, be it in the census, be it in the national household surveys, be it in other surveys that are done midstream in the everyday engagement of governance in the country. Hebu tuwapatie makofi ya mwanzo kwa kazi nzuri waliofanya. Thank you very much. Now I want to open the floor for questions and comments. I want to request that when you get the mic, don't give a long speech, don't give a new paper, just post a question or a compliment, and then we proceed like that. So I will start by picking up from this side, the first top three. Now, but there's one problem. This panel of ours is unfortunately very skewed in terms of gender, which is unfortunate really. So the first three questions will come from women participants as a way of, first of all, reparation. So maswali ya kwanza ya tatu yatatoka kwa participants ambao ni akina dada. So hebu nione akina dada wa mwanzo upande huu. Dada wa mwanzo upande huu, hapa kuna mmoja, alafu upande huu, mbili, ule dada kwa yule, jaji, mbili, tatu, mbili, tatu. Sasa utaanza na pale, kisha mbili, kisha tatu. Kisha baadaye tutafungua kwa wengine. Kwanza tutubu dhambi, alafu tupige hatua. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Dr. kwa kunipea nafasi. Kwa majina naitwa Mami Masimane. I'm from DRC Congo, and nimekuja na RCK kama wale wanatuhudumia as a refugee leaders, and women leader who is running a community-based organization in Kenya called Refugee Women Care CBO. Nimefurahi kwa hii mazungumzo, na yangu ni kusema asante sana kwa kutualika, kutujumuisha kama marefugees ambao tunakaa Kenya. Kama vile mnajua, sisi tumekuwa mara nyingi tukitupiliwa ku access justice. Na kuna shida zinapitikana kwa mashirika ambazo zinatuhudumia, ambazo kwa kuwa wamekosa pesa hawakuweza kuturepresent vizuri kwa kupata haki yetu. Tumeshukuru kwa shirika zingine zinajua kutuambia hapa hatuwezi kwa sababu hatuna hiyo budget ya kuwa represent. Lakini mimi nauliza swali, Dr. Wambua, nitakuona kando, lakini yangu ni kuonya. Hizo data una collect ambako service munapea watu hazijakuwa halali. Watu wamepewa service, jina zimeenda, mumehudumia 1, 2, 3, lakini ukienda kwa justice, mtu hakuridhika. Imekuwa hata worse than before. How can we make sure the service you deliver ilikuwa imepewa vizuri na mtu ameridhika?
Asante.
Na kwa hiyo naomba justice pia suggestion to have a suggestion box. Wakati mtu amehudumiwa, muweke box ili aweze kusema walinihudumia na nikapewa service na ikakuwa hivi. Itatusaidia pia kumeasure hizo data. Thank you.
Asante sana, swali limeeleweka. Tafadhali naomba tuende pale kwa Justice Madheka.
Asante sana kwa nafasi hii, nashukuru sana. Langu ni swali kuhusu vile tunavyo collect data kuhusu watoto. Children, I mean, it's now an emerging thing that now children have to participate in AJS, or they've been participating, but we have not been capturing their information. So an issue arose. How do we do that? Yet, most of the times, they are not active participants. They do not come into the room. They don't sit at the table when these discussions are had, but decisions are made about them or that affect them out of those AJS conversations. So swali langu likawa ni wale ambao si wahusika active kama watoto, tutapata, how do we get that data? Tutapataje habari yao katika hizi AJS outcomes? How do we get that? Nikubalie nipeane mfano kidogo tu. Kwa mfano, pengine ni kuhusu maybe a matter that was a murder case, for example, and there was compensation, and there are children in the family, and compensation was done. So how do we capture how that compensation would apply to the that restitution and any other AJS mechanisms where children are not active participants? And then where they are active participants, how do we also capture whether they got justice, that justice outcome? Thank you.
Sana judge, tuende kwa judge mwingine, Justice Christine pale. Madada mwingine wa mwisho. Hamna, Justice Christine.
Good morning. I'm Justice Christine Ochieng. I'll not be able to speak Swahili because Steve has spoken for me, is my brother. I just have two questions, and I like what Dr. Sewe raised. So would it be important for us to design tools to capture the issue of the issue of the outcome? Because it's like, from what you're explaining, there's we are missing some point. So I don't know, maybe it's something that you can think about because you are in charge of directing us so that we're able to capture until the end result. That way we'll be able to say that at least we've made a change in life. And secondly, to build on to what my sister Judge Teresia said, and there's a question I asked yesterday in our side where we were, that we also need to get gender segregated data. And by this, and please don't swallow me, I know majority here are men, but majority of the panelists within AJS are male. And we know majority of us, we are patrilineal, we are patriarchal. How would we maybe look for a way to see that whatever processes we are going through, maybe inculcate, of course, constitutional values, but also we are able to achieve the gender parity and gender equity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to guarantee you no one can dare swallow you. The question is very, very welcome. And now I want to come back to the panel. I would like to start with you, Professor, to start by engaging the children question. I would be very keen to know, how do you capture children-related justice data in the US, especially in the entire chain, during the proceedings and also in the outcome? If there's none, also just let us know there's none, but we'll be very happy to hear from you. And then after that, we'll go to the other panelists. Welcome.
I think I'd like to hear from the other panelists.
Let's then go to Dr. Wambua with that question of children-related data.
Yes.
After which then, and if as you do that, you also answer the question on how do you measure satisfaction, which came from my sister from DRC.
Right. Okay. People-centered justice approaches emphasize on measuring user satisfaction. Yeah. So the users of justice or services, what was the experience in accessing justice and in realizing the outcomes of justice? So I think we need to agree that probably that's the way we need to go. But then it's good to disaggregate the users. Professor here talked about victims. Yeah. So is it also necessary for us to include victims? Children could be victims, yeah, youth, women, etc., and get their perspectives for purposes of measuring justice as a process and outcome as well. Then also practitioners, and when we say practitioners, we need to look at both formal and informal. Informal, we have paralegals, frontline justice actors. Can we also measure their perspectives on these issues? So how do we do that? We could have specialized studies, and that can be done by governmental as well as non-governmental organizations like ourselves, and that we do. But then, again, going back to my earlier call, that we also need to get the national statistical system involved in this, because it's our money anyway, and the data collection is not cheap. So if we integrate it in what our national statistical system does, it's even sustainable. So in the demographic also surveys, can we have targeted questions on child justice, gender justice, and then we see what kind of statistics are we getting there. And let's borrow from some organizations that have been quite good at this. I heard UN Women was here. UN Women has actually partnered with Kenya Bureau, and they've come up with wonderful statistics. I mean, if you want to know what is the prevalence of FGM in this country, in every county in this country, you get that, and from Kenya National Bureau. So for the justice actors, I want just to overemphasize, let's engage with these national statistical systems. Let's have specialized studies on these issues, and I'm sure we'll get data that can be quite useful to us. For the approaches for user satisfaction from Mami from DRC, yeah, there could be all varied methods, including suggestion box, having those responses captured in our institutional reports like Kituo cha Sheria. Annually, we should tell people, so what complaints have we gotten with regards to the services that we give? What response did we do? Commission on Administrative Justice has been emphasizing on that kind of approach for state organizations. So I think for non-government organizations like us, we need to mainstream that approach and have those reports included in our annual reports, and probably consolidated and fed into the country statistics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you very much. Very well put. The central question as you go to Dr. Osava is, which we need to take into account here, which Justice Madaka is raising. How do you ensure that statistics capture the voices of the children? And that is something we need to explore a little bit more, so that we don't just have them as an annexure. Then the question also of gender is, how do we make sure that real data has to be gender desegregated, so that gender desegregation does not come as an additional affirmative action. Real data has to have that desegregation. So now we are being invited to expand that desegregation on gender, on children, so that the voices are not sublimed. Dr. Sewe, there was a very specific question from Justice Christine, and you can also comment on the other question, but the question she asked is, so are you in the process of developing a revamped tool that captures these outcomes?
Thank you, Dr. Koth. I think just to add on to what my fellow panelists have said, there's a gap in terms of the data we capture on children. And I think we need to go to the drawing board and ensure that we capture the data, but we also do it in line with the Data Protection Act. So I think that's a gap that we need to address. In terms of Judge Ochieng, Judge, I want to say that when I was talking about measures in context, what I meant is that every measure matters. We have input measures, we have process measures, we have output measures, we have outcome measures, and we have impact measures. All those measures are important. But you realize that as you start, these ones are done frequently. There are measures we can take every day. There are those we can take every month. There are those we can take every quarter. But when we start talking about outcome, there are measures we can do after a period of time, maybe 2 years or 3 years. So when we are saying Kenya National Bureau of Statistics can come and help us do come up with outcome measures on satisfaction, it is something they do after 2 years or after 3 years to see the impact. So even as we've been trying to do what we call, we've been doing what we call court user satisfaction surveys, where we interview, the people who come to court, and then they give us feedback, and we compute an index of satisfaction in addition to other variables that we look at. So yes, we need to do this. As far as AJS is concerned, that's a gap. We don't have measures of justice journeys in terms of outcomes in AJS. We need to do that, and we need to engage with the committee and see how to come up with this. And this will really help us. If we can do it as an institution, or if we can have several institutions combining to do it, it will be more effective because we'll go into details. We'll be able to go into details. If we give it Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, they might not even give us exactly what we want. They might cover it generically. But if we come together, maybe get a donor to help us do this, then we'll be able to capture the details of the data that we may require in terms of these justice journeys in AJS. If I want to give an example, the topologies of AJS, you are talking about autonomous, things happening outside there with WAZES, which we might not even have control of. They're even going on as we are talking. We are talking about court annex, which might be easier to get. We are talking about third party, which are happening in other institutions. Do we know the data that we require from them so that we engage them so that they can capture for us that data? That will really help us. In terms of gender segregated data, I think this is simple. It is just because we are doing digital data capture. It's just to filter, and we'll be able to give the gender segregation data. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's come to another round. I would like to request that if you can post your question in Swahili, please be encouraged to do so that then we can expand the layers of engagement. So we will now have it. There was a hand which was right here in front. So we'll start. Here. We'll have Justice Mumbi, and then we'll have Bishop, and then we'll have there's another bishop, but before that, the bishop, there's a gentleman behind there. Those are three. Let me just do the other three for this side. Anyone this side? Okay, so we have a judge here, and then we have my two friends there, my sister here and my sister behind there. So we have 1, 2, 3. So please remember your numbers. Yes, I've seen you. I'll come to you later. Okay, let's just have this side 4. So we'll also have you. So you are number 4. Okay, let's get going. Thank you.
Asante sana Steve and I'm Mumbi Ngugi, Judge of Appeal based in Nyeri. Sijui vile nitaeleza what I want to say kuhusu walemavu. I've noted a significant absence of information or data about disability. I don't know, of course, how we say intersectionality in Kiswahili, lakini tunaongea mambo ya gender, lakini hatujaongea kuhusu disability as it intersects with gender, as it intersects with the rights of children. And I don't know kama kuna vile mna capture hiyo data, kama it's a demographic ambayo imepotea hapo katikati. Tuna recognize women in the AJS process, children, lakini sijui kama mnaweza ongea juu ya the position, the data, access to justice for persons with disabilities. Asante.
Asante Judge, imeeleweka vizuri. Tuende kwa askofu pale, na tafadhali tu wote tufanye kwa ufupi kama alivyo tusaidia pale kufanya Judge. Karibu.
Thank you, Steve. What can or how can success stories from AJS be systematically captured and used for policy influence? And what minimum data set should we realistically collect from at county levels to assist inform the policies?
Asante sana askofu, kwa sababu yuko karibu hapa, hebu tupe na huyu askofu mwingine. Karibu. If we do it precise, then many of us can speak.
Asante. Swala hili ni swala nyeti kabisa, tukiliangazia mno kuhusu documentation. Ni jinsi gani, kwa sababu tuko na data protection. Tukisema we are collecting data, up to which space do we have the data protection for those who are participants? Number 2, how do we make sure at the grassroots people understand their space so that they can freely give the information that can help us? Thank you.
Asante sana. Kisha kulikuwa na mwingine upande huu. Naam, pale tafadhali nenda pale mwisho.
Asante. Naitwa Mohamed Salim, team member Meru. I'm also the chair for SUPKEM in Meru County. Swali langu la kwanza de sijui kwa nini mic na sasa naongea.
Endelea sasa. Na swali lio ni moja tu tafadhali, endelea.
Sawa. Access to justice basi. Langu ni kuwa Wakenya wengi ambao mapato yao yako chini kupita kiasi leo
Hebu tumpe kipaza sauti kingine, hicho kina shida kidogo pale. Asante. Na kuna kingine hapo nyuma, tumpe hicho kingine. Asante.
Kwa sababu ada zao za kulipa mahakimu kutokana na Kenya iko juu sana. Je, vile vile kwa wale mawakili wanatoa pro bono services, vile vile ni wachache wale wanakubali kuchukua huduma hizo na kusaidia wananchi. Sijui kituo cha haki mnafanya nini kuwasaidia Wakenya, kwa sababu ada za mawakili zimekuwa zipo juu sana. Sijui mtu asaidia vipi, na chairman, la moja tu measuring outcome justice. I was wondering, because we have mediators, what next court, je, na data imetoa outcome ya kuonesha ni vipi wale victim wamekuwa satisfied? Thank you.
Asante sana. Swala la kwanza hilo la gharama litajibiwa na jopo la pili, ambapo kutakuwepo pia na mahakimu na majaji, na hili la pili la satisfaction nadhani limeguswa, lakini baadaye mwisho tutarejelea kidogo. Sasa tuende upande huu, tuanze pale nyuma, dada wawili pale, tukija huku mbele. Sio huyo, nyuma kabisa pale, ambaye ameinua mkono.
Kwa majeri kutoka Free Area Nakuru. Nilikuwa nauliza aje, Wambua umetuambia maneno na wanyama, kuna upande ya Laikipia kuna watu wana mashamba na wanyama wamekuwa shamba yao nao wanachukua hatua ya kuangamiza. Fanya aje ili kutetea hiyo, kwa sababu wanaua wanyama na sio vizuri. Wambua ndiye wewe utatujibu hiyo.
Amekubali atajibu, amekubali atajibu hiyo, asanti. Alafu mwingine pale mbele.
Kwa majina naitwa Jemaima Kaywa kutoka Busia chini ya Malaika Foundation. Swali langu ni upande wa watoto mayatima. Umeenda pale chini kuchukua data ya orphans. Unapata example watoto wa sistangu walifariki. Sistangu na mume wake walifariki, nikachukua watoto nikaishi nao. Wakati wa birth certificate naeka majina yangu na ya mume wangu. Saa ile kuna kuja mambo ya support kama cash transfer, ile ya Inua Jamii. Hapo mahali kwa hiyo questionnaire wanataka death certificate ndio wajue au watoto wamefiliwa. Wakienda kuangalia death certificate ya biological parents, majina hayafanani na ya wale watoto ambao walifiliwa. Majina ni ya wazazi ambao wako hai. Niliona kwa last recruitment watoto wengi hawakufanikiwa kupata usaidizi wowote. Watoto kama hao, je, tutawasaidia vipi? Asante.
Asanti. Kuna mwingine wa mwisho kule, kuna wawili. Hatutachukua zingine mpya, tutachukua yule pale mwisho, alafu jaji wa mwisho, alafu watajibu huku tukifunga.
My name is Mr. David Lupao from Bungoma CUC. My question is, what data do we need on AJS for children with special needs, especially on gadgets that can support their cases, maybe within the community? Because you see, within the court environment, we have the settings for special courts for children. How is GSS also prepared for environment, town environment, or systems or space for children, maybe to attend those sessions?
Asante sana. Mwisho, the final question. No, I'm so sorry I didn't pick you that round, and I will thank you very much. I may not indulge for now. Let's have the last question here from Judge. Thank you.
Dr. Coates, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Mine is addressed to the American professor. And I would like to know whether the initiation of the Justice of the Peace addresses the concerns of victims. I'm aware they're laymen, and that's my major interest. Thank you.
Thank you.
key do this work. We are few. So we are trying to extend what we do by training paralegals at the community level. We're also trying to mobilize advocates to start providing pro bono services, particularly in counties away from the urbanized counties of Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, etc., etc. And then we're also advocating for full operationalization of National Legal Aid Service, so that the state can also take up its responsibility in providing legal aid. So I think that statistic is something that we need to track. And these two points. One, how can we build a culture, particularly at a national level, that supports research and production of knowledge? I remember in my doctoral research, I had big problems interviewing people from government. I also had problems interviewing some community folks because people always want something in return for giving. So how can we promote that? Then number two, there are always power dynamics in research and knowledge production. So research will always be influenced, tailored by those who have power. So if you don't have power, you're on the wrong side of the equation. So if AJS actors are not represented in decision-making bodies, particularly at the highest level, so how do we expect data generated from official sources, particularly, to reflect their perspectives? Now, this is a bit controversial, but it's something that we should always keep in mind when we have this kind of discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sewe. In your 1 minute, please.
Thank you. I think the only question that I think I need to respond to is success stories from AJS be captured. Institutionally, we're already doing this. We have PMMU, the Performance Management and Measurement Understanding, where we have an indicator dealing with AJS. We are looking at whether sensitization was done, whether you are keeping records of cases referred to AJS, and whether you're having success stories from those AJS engagements, which actually find their way to our annual report, the soldier report. So we already started doing it, but we still maybe need to do more so that we are able to capture those other AJS topologies. Are there success stories we can get from there? From Code Annex, we're able to get it very well, but from those other topologies, we need to do more. So that is already happening. In terms of data protection, I think needs a lawyer, but there are a lot of provisions, like children data should not just be exposed. So there are a lot of provisions on that. And wherever you're coming up with a policy or regarding data, you should always refer to the Data Protection Act. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just give them an applause. Makofi kwao. They have done extremely well in helping us to reflect on this question. And that brings us to the request Jemima Aluda to come and flag us in the next steps. What we'll do is that after Jemima has made the announcement, as we go for tea, the panelists, you'll stand there for a photo session with the chair and
Okay, let's team once again. Thank you very much. This was a great panel. Judges and executive directors, the DVCs here. We have magistrates and also the NACI AJS committee members. We know where we are supposed to meet. We'll have a protocol team to leaders. The rest of us, we are all set to ensure that we make it very, very smooth in the next 30 minutes. In the next, how many minutes? And remember, you are going to be reminding your neighbor or partner, because we need to be accountable to each other. So kama hauna simu, hauna saa, tafadhali mwambie mwenzako kwamba tumepewa dakika 30. Dakika ngapi? Asanteni sana. Tutakaporudi hapa saa 5 na dakika 10, tutakuwa na kikao kingine ambacho tutakuwa na viongozi wetu kutoka koti zetu. Let's put our hands together for our PJELRC, Honorable Justice Mburu. Let's clap for her. Let's clap for RMC in the house, Honorable Kabucho. Let's clap for her. Then we have representative from the High Court, our AJS champion all the way from Garissa, even though now he's in Makueni, Honorable Justice Onyego. Let's clap for him. And last but not least is Honorable Justice Christine Ocheng, who will be representing the ELC court. Let's clap for her. Ladies and gentlemen, we are breaking for tea. We're breaking for tea. Our ushers and secretary will be giving us milk cards. For the rest of us that have said they're going to meet at the admission block, please, let's proceed and let the party begin now. Thank you.
Good morning. So in front of you is the University of Embu Students Choir presenting a song called Tiko Onotando. It's a traditional Xhosa hymn from South Africa that translates God of Love. And Ndimi Pami Kwako means here I am before you and I stand before you. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you very much, choir. We'll call you again to give us another piece. I can see you are ready to give us more. Please, let's give them a round of applause. Good morning. Habari zenu. Good morning. Kuna uchovu asubuhi kwa nini? Welcome to the second session of our conference, day 3. And for those who are still having tea, please, let's get into the hall so that we can get started. And we are privileged this morning to have with us the various courts in our jurisdiction. As was stated yesterday by the chair of the National Steering Committee, Justice Professor Joel Ngugi, the Constitution invites courts to focus on AJS. That's what Article 153C is about. So courts in our system have a constitutional duty to perform or to support and facilitate and promote alternative justice system. And for that reason, this session is supposed to give all our courts, all our tiers of courts. We have the Court of Appeal, we have the High Court, we have the Employment and Labor Relations Court, we have the Environment and Land Court, and we have the magistrates represented on the panel. So what they will do is to tell us very briefly what each of these courts is doing to facilitate, promote AJS, and highlight whatever challenges that there may be in each of those courts. So without much further ado, I would like to invite our panelists. Ordinarily, I would start with the Court of Appeal, but the judge has just joined us. I'll give him time to catch his breath. And I'll start with the High Court. And representing the High Court, speaking on behalf of the High Court, is one of the main promoters of AJS, Justice Onyego, judge of the High Court, who will tell us the perspective of the High Court and the experience of the High Court on the facilitation and promotion of AJS. Very briefly, Judge, let us hear what the High Court is doing with respect to AJS. Judge.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, fellow participants. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Justice John Onyego, currently presiding Judge Makueni. Prior to that, I was based in Garissa, where I happened to oversee so many activities concerning the AJS program. The High Court is a key pillar in the implementation of AJS programs administratively under the Organization and Administration Act number 27 of 2015. The High Court is bestowed with huge responsibilities in terms of the administration of justice, facilitating the operations of the court, being the head of the judiciary at the county or sub-county level. There's so much that is expected out of its operations and functioning. Basically, the High Court as a pillar at the county level has various functions. One of them is to oversee operations of the CUC, which is the key component in the administration of justice at the county level or the sub-county level, in terms of overseeing and supervising the subordinate courts and tribunals that operate under that jurisdiction. At the same time, coordinating activities with other stakeholders, because we realize that the judiciary cannot operate on its own without the support of other stakeholders. That informs the creation of the Court Users Committee under Section 7 of the Organization and Administration Act, from which the High Court derives its mandate in performing these duties. As a High Court, we have entrenched the activities of AJS as we realize and recognize that case backlog is a major challenge in the discharge of justice in the Republic of Kenya. And under Article 159, courts are enjoined to discharge justice using alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. And the High Court, having the capacity to serve a wide range of clientele, we are more bound to operationalize Article 159 and the Organization and Administrative Act by delivering alternative justice system to the people of Kenya. The role then played by the High Court through the Court Users Committee is to bring together other stakeholders, establish committees, which then will implement the activities of the AJS. Give an example, when I was serving in Garissa, where I started my first AJS activities and result to their launch by the Honorable CJ last year in October. Establishing AJS Center requires a great deal of commitment. You have to involve the Court Users Committee to come up with a roadmap of exactly how the operations of AJS will operate within the county or the sub-county. This Court Users Committee then establishes activities that will lead to the launch of AJS centers. If I give an example of Garissa, then after establishing the county CUC, we had to establish an implementation committee, which came up with the nitty-gritties on the achievements that we intended to achieve. Thereafter, we had to call for training, or rather fast identification of the elders. This, we could not achieve it without the input of the county government. They are the people who knows the elders at the grassroots level. After identifying the elders, then we went to the process of training these elders. After training the elders, then we had to call for another training for the Court Users Committee jointly with other elders. After that, we had to look for infrastructure. The infrastructure here I'm talking about, where would the elders be sitting? Fortunately for our case in Garissa, we had the input and cooperation of the governor, His Excellency Nathi Vijama, and the entire county government team who came on board and built a structure for us and equipped it where the elders were supposed to sit. The biggest challenge here is resources. Where do we get the resources to put in infrastructure? Fortunately for Garissa, the county government came on board fully and built the building where we are having now our court use our AJS center. I think it's the best in the Republic of Kenya. The county government, the judiciary never spent a single penny in putting up the structure. And the county government went ahead to establish a stipend, an allowance where elders are getting something monthly just to appreciate them for the good work they are doing. In fact, it became a competition for elders who should be sitting in those panels. Governor Ontutu yesterday mentioned something to do with empowering AJS. For Garissa, they are already ahead of everybody else. And I think it should be a benchmarking station to oversee how things are working. So after establishing this AJS center, we realized that there are those challenges that need to be addressed. besides having resources problem as a big challenge, we have the challenge of distance of elders traveling. The other challenge is how to identify the elders, because with the stipend in place, people are seeing some income coming and they want to fight for that position of elders. As a judiciary, to facilitate the operation of AJS, we established a secretariat. We posted a court assistant to the registry. Actually, we opened the registry for AJS and posted a court assistant to man and manage operations of the AJS center. Which then means we had to give stationary registers so that we could register now cases from court referrals and those that are autonomous, those that come direct to us, and those that are referred by the courts. So we have those two categories of registers and documentation. After realizing that there are challenges here and there, we established, rather we agreed on review, regular review on the challenges facing AJS operations. 3, we agreed we should have further training, regular training for the incoming new elders, because those that have been appointed, others would have died, others because of illness cannot perform their functions. So we have a continuous program of training to ensure that the new ones who come on board, they are abreast to what the operations of AJ means. So CUC is a very critical component in overseeing the operations of AJS as a process. And we thank God for Northeastern. It's entrenched, it's natural through what we call Masira. It is inborn. They believe and they know that the Quran teaches about forgiveness. You cannot do anything if you don't forgive your neighbor. And you cannot go to court unless you are cleared by elders. So that has been there for centuries due to Islamic teachings and their traditions. It makes it easier for Northeastern to operate and discharge functions of an AJS program. The challenges, I think, about random lack of sources, I would urge that with the new budget provision for elders, the elders now involved in AJS be incorporated or be included or be given a priority in that allowance. That will reduce the challenge of traveling costs, expenses incurred, and all those manner of challenges that we are experiencing. In a nutshell, I would say the AJS program has reduced quite a number of backlog, which would have actually hindered the operations of the judiciary. But with their performance, I didn't have statistics here, but I know Garissa, they will give those statistics because I saw our court assistant around their figures. But as the time I arrived there on 1st April, we were doing extremely well. And the reception was very good. And we encourage that indeed the judiciary be the key driver in the administration of just using AJS as a program that we champion in reduction of case backlog, improving reconciliation, and all those manner of ADR dispute resolution mechanism. So the High Court is committed, and actually as data regarding data, we are already implementing the same by having those secretariats in place who are then registering cases, including the outcomes of those cases. And we are submitting the reports to a performance directorate, which will then inform them on the effect, impact, and benefits of having AJS as a dispute resolution mechanism. Thank you, Commissioner.
Please, let's give a round of applause to Justice Onyego for a wonderful story from Garissa. He says it's the best AJS center that there is. So for those of us in other parts of the country, that's something to pay attention to. He's also emphasized the need to work with court users committees, have an institutional framework. Court users committees set up a secretariat and work with county governments to facilitate the movement of elders who are part of this process. Thank you very much, Judge. We'll ask you later when you come back, not now, what the jurisprudence, the decisions that the center is dealing with are looking like, and how the courts themselves then are interacting with those decisions if and when they eventually make it to the court. But you can respond to that much later. I want to go to the ELC, the Environment and Land Courts, and representing the principal judge of that court is Justice Christine Ochieng. Judge, kindly share with us what the experience of the Environment and Land Court is with respect to AJS promotion and facilitation. It's on, yes, it is.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Justice Christine Ochieng. I'm the presiding judge, Land Division, and based in Milimani. But before I share about the ELC experience, I'd just like to share that previously I was in Kajiado for several years when our able chair, Prof. Ngugi, led the process in terms of establishing AJS. And I'll just flag out that this came out because of the challenges that the ELC was experiencing, more so in terms of implementation of the decisions that were coming from the courts. And this was because when I used to give the decisions, because I'm the one who established the ELC in Kajiado County, the parties still came back several times with applications saying, for example, where the widows had, there was an issue of widows resettling back on the land, they're saying the people have refused, yet the court orders were really nice. And that's when the judiciary, we had a discussion with the county government, the National Land Commission, and a few players within the land sector, within the county, and they realized that we needed to find a way of resolving these disputes without going through the formal system. And this was because Kajiado County on itself, the people own land through the group ranches. So because of this, the important thing was that the ELC Act actually makes provisions that matters can actually be resolved informally. We can engage alternative dispute resolution. And then the fact that the ELC, we mainly deal with land and environment. And the advantage was because the Ma community that are predominant within the county also used to resolve their disputes previously, as Judge Nyuga said, for centuries through informal dispute resolution mechanisms. So we began to engage with them through what they call the Maasai sections. There are different sections, and also the elders. The one I know is Ilki Sonko because of our chair, and the other groups, other subsets. And this was very important because it came out very clearly that when the group ranches were being dissolved so that individuals get their past titles to land, the elders were very clear that a particular age group could not have owned that land when they were explaining. So you find that there was a group ranch might be dissolved in the 60s, and that was there was an older age group. So that's when now it made us realize that actually some people were acquiring the land but through the wrong processes. But the key issue was because the key issue that came up is because the county government appreciated their role, because they were custodians in terms of because initially this was like trust land, and now they are coming in to manage the issue of the community land, and a county action plan was developed. The CUC were engaged, and the court, the judiciary led the process. And Judge Onyego says Garissa is the best. I think Kajiado is the best, Judge Onyego. I beg to disagree with you, because the old court was handed over and became the AJS suites. And there was a very beautiful launch because it was the first county to launch their county action plan. And I can tell you that a lot of decisions that were coming from the elders were being recorded as orders within the courts. And these decisions, actually, there was a lot of issues were settled. For one, I can tell you that there were a lot of disputes between the group branches that were getting explosive. But when the elders went and they deliberated upon them and they came back to us, and I recorded some of them as orders, it made it much, much easier. So for me, I can just say that the AJS is a very important. It's very important in terms of resolving of land disputes, because all of us love land. Even where we are sitting here, it's land. And the fact that for land matters, it's very important to preserve relationships. So it's really preserved relationships. Insofar as the previous the previous group had said that we need to keep more data, maybe that's why we need data now. But a lot of relationships has been preserved through AJS, and there's been continuous sensitization, and even the development of county action plans. I know, for example, that Judge Gikonyo led the one for Narok, and I know for sure that it's also working very well. I'm also leading one development of one in Nyandarua. So for me, I can just say that this has been very key. The court, it's aided the court a lot, but we still need to do more work in terms of sensitizing the other groups so that they're able to appreciate more so the land registrars, because I don't think they understand. That is also, they need to understand, because they are still stuck up on the issue of the formal process. There's also a challenge of budgets, and also a challenge also in terms of monitoring. So we need to just put in place mechanisms to monitor. Thank you very much.
Please, let's give a round of applause to Justice Ochieng for those comments around the environment and land courts and what it is doing. There's an important point that she's raised towards the end of her presentation: sensitization of the land registrars. These are very, very major actors in this process. And I think as a steering committee, that is something to take forward. Garissa is a predominantly Muslim area. Kajiado is a predominantly Ma area. The issue that arose in the morning about gender, what has been the interplay between AJS and gender within those spaces? That is something that you may want to speak to us about later, not now. Let us go to the third Superior Court, the Employment and Labor Relations. And we are privileged to have the principal judge of that court with us on the panel, Justice Monica Mbaru. Judge, karibu, and please tell us how AJS is playing out around matters of employment. Karibu.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am Wajiro Wabaru. And as a judge of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, this is really the place of AJS. Because since 1964, when we had the industrial court, a lot of his work was premised on the tripartite, that before you come to court, you need to go through conciliation, which is posted at the Ministry of Labor, which practice has remained to date. And what is data telling us about the effectiveness of those alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that the court applies to date, so that majority of the disputes that come to the Employment and Labor Relations Court are resolved before a judge can review them, or even a magistrate. That data, I'll start by giving an example. We are all here because somebody was an enabler of our participation in this conference. You had a driver, you left your home to some house manager, you left your office to a court manager. We left all our personal possessions in the hands of somebody back at home or back in our offices. So when we have the wage orders regulating the work of the people who really support us to be here, I was listening to the radio last week, and people are arguing about how can you earn 25,000 Kenya shillings and then you are directed by some wage orders to pay your house manager 18,000. That is the law. And for you to be able to pay your house manager, your driver at that rate, it is because of the involvement of the tripartite. When the president announced the increase of the wage orders for general workers at 12%, agricultural workers at 15%, it meant that if you have employed somebody in your household, you pay the minimum wage. That only arises when the tripartite meet and they are able to agree on the modalities, the change in the economy, where we are at as a country, and then those wage orders are published by the minister. So for the court to operate, we use a lot of information from the labor officers, the minister, and the wage orders that are published, so that majority of the data and information that the disputes resolved by the labor officers around the country is far much greater than what the judges and the magistrates are able to do on a given year. The data that I have for Nairobi only, for the last financial year closing in June 2025, the labor officers were able to resolve 15,000 cases, matters that never came to court. The court in Nairobi, we were able to resolve about 2,000 cases, like hearing from the beginning to the end in just one financial year. So what is that data telling us? As judges, when we say that we have these alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, that data we should be able to analyze it and tell ourselves most cases are resolved outside of the court, and the thing that we need to add up to that process is to ensure that there is more research and data that is analyzed to feed onto the work that we do, so that our judgments and referral to AJS is more effective. The users are satisfied with what is going on in court, and the impact on the court is also achieved in terms of decongesting the cases that lock the economy in our courts. You can imagine that today your house help takes you to court because you are not paying the correct wage orders based on the just published wage orders. It is an embarrassment, and the judges of the ELRC sometimes are faced by these embarrassing moments when the most vulnerable in our community take the law into their hands and they sue you. It is only in the Employment and Labor Relations Court where Section 46 of the Employment and Section 46 of the Employment Act allow an employee to sue the employer while still in employment. That only happens in Kenya, nowhere else. So when your employee sues you, the court is allowed to protect them so that they remain in court, but you still pay them. So what do we need to do to some of these very, very personal relationships that happen in the corners of our homes? But again, the people behind the suits require protection, alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. We cannot be able to deal with every dispute that happens on the shop floor because it requires a lot of personal initiative so that it is addressed and it is resolved, so that the relationships behind those suits are addressed appropriately. So for the AJS, it is not an alternative to justice. It is an alternative pathway to justice. AJS is also giving the judiciary a role to facilitate, supervise, and ensure that the processes undertaken are constitutionalized and they give meaningful dispute resolution. Access to justice also requires multiple doors to justice and not just outcomes. So for the judges, you are not only required to give your data, how many you resolved, but what was the value behind the judgment that you delivered. The future of justice lies in complementarity between these formal court systems and community-based dispute resolution mechanisms. For the ELRC, we already have conciliations going on, the issues of trade unions, employers, and I hope in future AJS conferences, we can be able to invite trade unions and employer organizations so that they also run a parallel session so that the people addressing AJS can also interface with what is happening on the show floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judge, for those comments. You concluded by saying the future of justice depends on complementarity, and that AJS is not an alternative to justice, but an alternative pathway to justice. Very memorable quotation. You also indicated the numbers, the huge numbers that the labor court and the labor industry is already dealing with respect to AJS, 15,000 for the labor officers and 2,000 for the court itself, which basically proves that this mechanism works, isn't it? It does work. But there's one more thing that she said. What's the minimum wage in Kenya? What is minimum wage in Kiswahili or French? Huh? How many of you have house helps? Ama wachungaji wa ng'ombe. Those are employees also, isn't it? Those wachungaji wa ng'ombe you've employed are employees. What's the minimum wage? Hii kikao pia ni ya kujielimisha. Shingapi amesema judge? Sheria inasema ni shingapi? How many of you pay 18,000 shillings? Judge, kuna culprits hapa, kuna culprits. So thank you for that information, that the minimum wage in the country is 18,000 shillings. So usiseme huyu ni dada ya dada yangu, siji 18,000 shillings. Thank you. That is very useful information for all of us who employ people from our vulnerable communities. Now, let me go higher up and invite our hosts here, the presiding judge of the Court of Appeal in Meru, but who will also speak on behalf of the Court of Appeal with respect to what the court is doing on AJS. Are we okay? Tuna follow vizuri? Sawa. Judge, karibu.
Thank you very much, Duncan, for this opportunity. Now, in the Court of Appeal, we are privileged to have the chairman of the National Steering Committee, Professor Goge, who, of course, reached out to us, and being nearest to him, we have embraced the spirit. Last year, we began a pilot in Nairobi for AJS, and the committee was able to organize a training for the Court of Appeal judges. And as a result of that, the training was then cascaded to the staff, and we developed some tools for purposes of seeing that we carry this through. We then got a number of judges of the Court of Appeal to volunteer to screen essentially to screen the matters and to have those matters referred to AJS. And if you permit me, the chairman, I think, was the first volunteer. The Honorable Justice Tuyot was the second volunteer. Justice Odunga was the fourth volunteer, and yours truly was the fourth volunteer. And our staff were trained. We established a registry. We have a deputy registrar who does the screening of the matters that are suitable for referral. And we also got the mediation accreditation committee to give us a panel of appropriate institutions and persons to whom these matters could be referred. We then would after matters are screened and identified those that are suitable for referral, They would then be mentioned before the 4 judges that I've just mentioned on the Thursdays, and then they would then be referred to the whether it is mediation or whatever other AJS mechanism that was considered appropriate. And then a time frame was given for the filing of returns, because once the matter is mentioned and the judge makes the order, that goes to the registrar, who then transmits those instructions to the person appointed or to the team appointed, and then they are given a time frame of 60 days to come back with a report. Now, in the Court of Appeal, to ensure that this does not disincentivize people from pursuing this, we operate a system of first in, first out, but we also ensure that as matters are referred, those parties do not lose their position on the queue, so that in the event that the outcome is not favorable, then they can come back and then continue from where they had left without being disadvantaged. Now, one of the main challenges that we have found is that parties sometimes, because they already have a decision in their favor from maybe the High Court or from the Employment and Labor Relations Court or from the ELC, they have a false sense of confidence that they have an advantage over the other party and might therefore resist trying to explore this. But the thing is that even though there is a favorable decision for one party, the dispute is still not resolved because it is before our court and there is really no resolution. So the potential is there to run with this. And it was our expectation that once we pilot in Nairobi, all the other stations across the country would also embrace this. The other thing that we were trying to focus on is to bring on board our stakeholders through the CUCs and through the bar bench sensitizations, so that we have champions within either the Law Society or the other organizations to support this initiative, without them feeling that we are taking matters that they would require from that matters that would otherwise perhaps generate revenue for them. So I think that is still part of our effort. So I think we'll continue to work with the National Steering Committee to get this off the ground, to resource it properly, and to ensure also the stations are also on board on this, and to streamline it completely so that it is an integral part of the Court of Appeal system. So I'll stop there, Duncan, for now. Thank you.
Please, let's give a round of applause to Justice Stephen Kairugatembu for the elaboration on what the policy and operational frameworks the Court of Appeal is putting in place for AJS. Our last speaker, we are not doing badly in terms of time. We now want to invite our panelist, the Registrar of the Magistrates Court. She has the biggest constituency in the country. Honorable Caroline Kabucho, who oversees all the magistracy in the country, to just tell us what the experience and what the interventions of the magistracy is undertaking with respect to promotion of AJS. And you can speak in Swahili if you wish, and you can also say you agree with what has been said before, if you wish. Karibu, Honorable Kabucho.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And because all the higher courts have spoken, I actually agree and I'm bound by what they have said. Na vile umesema, the magistracy is, maybe just for context why he's telling me to speak in Swahili, when we are coming from T, kuna mama ametuambia, tunaongea kizungu mingi ya articles, sijui ya nini, tujaribu tuongee na Kiswahili. Huyo mama yuko hapa, ametuambia tuchanganishe ndio pia hao waelewe tunasema nini. So the magistracy, currently we have 148 courts across the country, and by 1st of July we'll be at 150. Na wale mahakimu wako tuko nao, tuko na 636 and 45 kadhis. The place maybe sometimes we brag about kwa sababu ya gender. Wanaume ni 261 na wamama ni 375. 261 and 365. So hata tukawaongeza kadhis bado hayotafikia wamama, tukiongeza kadhis 45 kwa sababu wote ni wanaume bado wanafika 306 against 375. Na kwa hivi AJS Judge Goge, the magistracy then wakiwa na mama wengi, si wamama ndio wanasikiza maneno mingi, wamama ndio wana empathy mingi. So the magistrates court have the highest, they are the highest proponents of AJS. So kwa ofisi yangu, I play the role of supervisory, facilitative, and also holding magistrates accountable for the work they are doing. And by this, we have spot checks in court stations. So far this financial year, tumefanya spot checks in 30 courts. And out of this, then we have realized where we need to improve AJS. And what we have done also sensitization workshops. And we make sure that every time we have a workshop, whether it's for magistrates, kadhis or court administrators, we ensure that we have a session on AJS. And this is working out very well. And we are hoping that even as with KJA, as we prepare for the colloquium of magistrates, then we'll ensure that this is also done. The other thing we have done, we have also undertaken virtual sensitization on AJS. And during our visits, when we notice maybe there's a shortcoming, like one of the things that we have noticed is that there is no standardized registers in our court stations. And this is because also there is no format given. And what we have agreed as an office is, as we amend our manual, we have a magistrates and kadhis manual. And as we amend our manual, we'll ensure that AJS is an integral part of that manual, so that now we have a standardized way of dealing with AJS, and especially because of even referrals, there's no standardized way. One court does one thing, the other court does another thing when it comes to the referral of AJS matters. And therefore, then we are working on having a proper guideline on this. The other thing that we have noticed also is that there is widespread confusion between AJS, court annex mediation, and ADR. This is not only for the litigants, but even with our people, the magistrates, and therefore we need to do more sensitization on this issue. Then when we pick up these things, and together with the AJS committee and secretariat, then we raise the issues that are coming out from courts, and we are working together to ensure that all these are addressed. So as we proceed, Commissioner and members, we shall ensure that every single court has at least an AJS register that is given proper format. Dr. Osewe talked about the PMMU. It is true that the PMMU has an indicator on AJS success stories. But and Judge Murgo, our chair, will bear me witness that even when we do the PMMU, not every court is actually recording success stories. And a member here raised that issue of success stories. So I think we will try and again have a standardized or look for ways of our better ways, even through the PMMU, and even as we go forward, how better can we capture success stories? The other issue that has come up is then when we capture the success stories, then what? Judge Goge, then we are asking, if we have success stories, then what? Can we then have a platform the way we have PMMU recognizing the success stories so that we do the same for AJS? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Kabucho. Very important observations there. What the magistrate is doing, preparing a manual for AJS referral so that it is standardized, creation of a register for AJS cases in all magistrates' courts, documentation, which Justice Onyego also talked about, success stories, and finding a platform for sharing them. And importantly, and this came out during our assembly yesterday, on need to clarify the distinction between AJS, court annex mediation, ADR, so that there is no confusion by ourselves, but also by other groups that are also doing AJS processes. That was raised yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's our time to be heard. Si mmesikia idara ya mahakama inashughulikia hii mambo sawa sawa? Si mmesikia? All levels of court are giving attention to this matter because the Constitution requires us to do so, but it's also an important thing to do on its own merit. So I want to open the floor ili tupate feedback kutoka kwa delegates to the courts to share our experiences. I can see several hands up. Where the guys helping us with the mics? There are many hands up, which is a good thing. Please, we need people in the hall to help us with the mics. Right. Let's start from this side. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mama atatumalizia 6. Round 1. Sawa. Hii ni session yenu, msiwe na shaka, tutaongea, tuko hapa. Haya, tuanze. Hiyo mic inaandamana. Just yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you very much. My name's Hilda Mokoi Kimata. I'm from Nakuru House of Reconciliation. My question is, at what point can you ask the courts, as they've been explained, for them to remove your case from the normal court process to AJS? And is there a process that is followed in doing that?
All right. Justice Onyego, you respond to that? All right. Number 2. Yes, the gentleman in white. And you can speak in English or Swahili.
Asante sana kwa hii nafasi. Rangu haswa ni ombi kwa judiciary represented by the Court of Appeal judge in the panel. If they can be able to borrow from the professor from USA. He said that they do their ruling in a 1-page ruling. Where else, in Kenya, we usually do it in several hundred of pages. If they can be able to borrow from that, so that we make it easier to the perpetrators or those people who are seeking justice. Thank you.
An appeal for ruling Kadogo. Number 3. Yes.
Thank you, Bwana Commissioner. Langu ni mambo ya colloquium ya AJS, so that we can have a cocktail ya mambo yetu yote, yaangaliwe kwa undani. Tuwe na special days ya integrate all issues together. Because kama hapa, mambo ni mbio mbio. Tunataka more details.
The panel general, Professor Ngugi, will respond to that. Yes. Yes, wait. Number 4. Number 3.
Commissioner. How can county governments and the judiciary strengthen partnerships to support AJS implementation in other counties? The other question is, since AJS has been described today, I don't know whether today or this is how it is described, as an alternative pathway to justice, other than alternative justice system, how can we then increase awareness to the communities so that people understand?
We would like to know your name and where you come from.
My name is Bishop Professor Stephen Kalungi.
From?
Isiolo County.
All right. No, we don't want to import you as a voter. We just want to know. The gentleman in white.
Asante. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Mayanga Kisotu na mimi natoka Narok. Swali yangu nauliza hivi. Sisi likuja. Naona nyinyi natumia Kiingereza sana. Na watu wengi hajasoma. Na sisi wote ilikuja hapa kwa masomo. Nataka tu naomba wenye asikii Kiingereza asimame. Asimame tu mahali yuko. Kila mtu asimame. Asimame tu, sio mbaya. Asimame. Asimame tu watu yote, mimi najua wengi. Ile sababu meambia hii watu asimame, nataka nyinyi ajue sisi likuja hapa likuja darasa. Na kama nakuja darasa, nakaa siku 5 na aliwasha mambo yako nyumbani, hakuna kitu hata moja nachukua. Hiyo ni ungwana. Mimi nasema atafute, kama naona nyinyi napenda sana kuongea Kiingereza. Huwezi kwa mtu mmoja ya kutafasiri sisi tupate ile kitu ulikuja kutafuta hapa. Hiyo ni number 1. Number 2, nataka kuuliza, mimi tuko kwa AJS. Na itajaza mwaka mwezi ya 7. Nauliza nyinyi hivi. Kwa sababu tuko chini ya judiciary. Iko moja yenyu na saamuka kutoka nyumbani naenda kwa kesi mwezi mzima na hakuna mshahara. Hii mambo ya kusema volunteer, mtu anaweza fanya volunteer mwaka mzima, nauza kondoo yake, nauza ng'ombe, si wazee watapunguzwa nyumbani? Nataka kuomba nyinyi, tafadhali angalia sisi kwa sababu kushaubia zaidi. Hata kama napenda watu yetu kwa sababu sisi napenda watu yetu, lakini nyinyi tafanya sisi apunguzwe nyumbani. Kwa sababu nauza kondoo ya watoto na ng'ombe mpaka mama naambia wewe, kwani wewe umekuwa asimu? Namaliza kila kitu nyumbani.
Asante.
Washa nifikishe hapo, Mungu awabariki. Lakini kwa saa hii weka mtu wa kutafasiri. Asante.
Asante. Yes. Aya, haraka.
Asante sana. Kwa majina, mimi naitwa Jacob Tarimo Kitalu from Narok County. I'm the AJS chair Narok County. Na ndaenda kuongea kwa ile lugha ambaye kila mtu anasikia, kwa maana mwenzangu ambaye ameongea hapa, hiyo ni ukweli. Kwa maana ile darasa tulikuwa jana tulisungumzia kitu kama hiyo, ili kila mtu apate kushika na kusikia na kujibu pia ile swali ambayo ameulizwa. Langu imeongea maneno, nimesikia jaji akiwa pala aliongea maneno ya Kajiado, akisema ya kwamba amekaa miaka mingi Kajiado. Na kuna resolutions nyingi ambayo imefanyika mahali pale kwa ajili ya mashamba. My question is, cheti la ardhi inapatikana kutoka ofisi ya serikali. Na cheti kipatikana inakuwa hati miliki ya mwenye ardhi hiyo. Kule kwetu Narok saa hii, wakati tulipoingia tukiwa wana AJS, kuna kesi nyingi ambaye tumekuta
the parcel of land is a single parcel, lakini unaweza unakuta ikiwa na title 3 ama 4 from the same office. Na unapoenda kuangalia ni mtu mmoja ambaye anamiliki hiyo ardhi, lakini unakuta watu maafa inatokea kwa ajili ya ile cheti imetoka kwa ofisi ya serikali, na mwenye ambaye anapatiana hakuna siku amewekwa kushikwa kuweka korokoroni kwa ajili ya kupatia watu cheti akiwa anajua hiyo ardhi sio yake. Ambapo tunapoenda kufanya hiyo kesi na kujaribu kutafutia mwenye ardhi haki, unakuta ikienda kukaribia tamati, hao watu wanajua ya kwamba mwenye ardhi ni fulani, unakuta hiyo watu wana sneak kutoka AJS na kurudi katika koti kuu. Na inapokelewa, kesi inaenda inapokelewa tena inarudi tena mahali pale imetoka kwa AJS. Hiyo nauliza ya kwamba itakuja kuwa mtindo ambaye hiyo kesi haitaisha, kwa maana tunakuta hiyo kesi ikiwa na miaka 30, tunajaribu kumaliza kwa mwezi mmoja ama mwezi 2, mtu akiona ya kwamba imekaribia ana sneak na kutoroka, na hiyo kesi inaenda kwa, na hiyo shida inabaki tena huko katika mahali ambayo ilikuwa. Hiyo ni moja. Ya pili, tukiwa wana AJS, we have a head collision. Kwa maana wakati AJS ilibuniwa, kweli ilileta mwangaza na imeleta usaidizi katika taifa letu la Kenya, kwa maana inaenda kuteremusha msongano ya makesi katika koti kuu. Na maneno hii ya kesi imeenda kuwa kwa njia nyingine kama biashara, kwa maana unakuta ile kesi tunapokea iko na advocate, iko na akili, sio advocate, sorry, wakili ambaye wanafanya huko nje ndio anakuja kotini kutafasiri kwa nafasi yangu na nafasi ya ile mwingine. Lakini ikikuja kwa AJS, wale wawili wanasosana, mwenye kesi na mstakiwa ndio wanaongea peupe mkika hapo, ambaye wakiongea sio wajinga. Wanapoongea hapo wasi ukweli inaonekana hata siku ya kwanza kabla hajafika siku ya pili, kabla hata washahidi kuitwa. Hao wawili wakijibiana hapo, unaona tu maneno imeanguka, ule mtu amepata haki yake. On the process, ukitoka hapo kesho, ila akili ambaye anashika hiyo ni anaenda kukatasa hiyo mtu akuje, ama kesi inaendelea, ikifika siku ya ambaye tunatoa ruling, anarudisha hiyo mtu akatae ama atoroke kukosa kuja kuparticipate. Na unakuta saa ile mtu akirudi kotini anakubaliwa. Tunashindwa ni nini? Kwa maana imekuwa mchezo ya paka na panya. Ombi letu, kesi ikiingia kwa AJS, tupatiwe nafasi ya kutosha tumalize, kwa maana tumegharamia tayari, tumetupa nafasi yetu tayari, tumeharibu rasilimali yetu tayari, tupatiwe tumalize, iende jabu ile ambaye tumepata iende kwa koti, isemekane ni ukweli ama ni uongo, lakini sio kurudi tena mahali imetoka kabla hatujamaliza, kwa maana tumeletewa. Jambo la tatu
na ya mwisho,
la mwisho, kweli AJS is a pathway through to justice. Kuna hii kesi ambaye sinakuja ambaye is a private, pia the same case, it reply the same issue or the same way kama ile nyingine. Tukianza tu iende hivi, ukweli inaonekana watu wana sneak kutoka kwa AJS kwenda kwa kwenda kuuliza tena kwenda apply waende kwa ile koti kubwa, na wametoka hapa kwetu na ilikuwa private. Kwa ajili ya ukweli imeonekana ya kwamba itapatikana hapa, kwa maana unajua sisi tunapoendelea na kesi kama ni kesi ya ardhi, siku ya kwanza wakikuja waseme mpaka tufike huko kwa ground, twende tuone mahali ambayo watu wanasosania, na tupate watu wenye wanaishi majirani hapo wapate kujua na kuona ya kwamba kweli, waenda tuambie ukweli iko wapi. Alafu kufika hapo inatoroka. We need a very high assistant na tukue recognize na tupatiwe nafasi tumalize, kwa maana tutatatua na tutasaidia bila upande na bila uongo. Asante.
Asante sana mwenyekiti. Yes, the last round from this end. Yes, Mama.
Naitwa Namnya, nimetoka AJS Narok. Mimi naongea maneno ya wamama, wajane na watoto wao. Kuna wamama wamedhulumiwa sana wakati wanatafuta succession ya watoto wao. Unakuta mama mali yake imechukuliwa na ndugu yake. Unakuta anafika kotini anasema yeye ndiye ameachiwa hao watoto. Unakuta anataka kuandikiwa title, anaenda lands, anabadilisha kila kitu, anaandika kwa jina yake. Mtu kama huyo mama atasaidika aje apate haki yake? Hana wakili, hata watoto wake ni wadogo, na ananyang'anywa ardhi na ndugu yake, na hiyo sio mzuri. Lakini mahali kuna shida ni lands. Majudges wana shida juu hao wapeani title, so the corrupt place ni lands, na lands isipoangaliliwa watu wengi watalia na watakaa nje bila haki yao. So tunaomba kama koti ingekuwa na nafasi, wakuwe wanaita hao ma registrar waone haki ya wamama, wajane na watoto atima. Mimi nasimamia haki ya wamama na watoto atima.
Thank you very much. Again, lesson for the National Steering Committee. Lands Registry is a special case. We need to pay attention to it. Now, I want to go upande huu mwingine ndio nirudi hivi. Why are we just having one person with the mic? Please, protocol team, please. We need people in the hall to help us with the mic, please. Right. Okay, now that the mic is here, give the nearest person here, but I want to go to the back. The lady at the back.
My name is Uweskule Shafi Tigale from Garissa. I'm the chairperson of AJS Garissa team. Swali yangu mimi ni moja. Hii case ya abduction ambayo watu inachukuliwa, watu wanaweza fanya mkosa, lakini haki yao ni kupeleka kotini, ichunguzwe na iangaliwe, na kama ni kuhukumu ihukumiwe, ama kama ni kuacha. Lakini tunakosa wengi ambaye inafanywa abduction, inachukuliwa na watoto wao wako mayatima. Hiyo case inasumbuliwa sana. Ya pili ni announcement hii ni Waislamu madada na wa mume, kuna mahali inatengenezwa huko ya kusali TB 07 first floor. Wakati wa kusali mnaenda huko na kusali. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. The lady at the back. At the back.
I have the mic here. Thank you.
You are the lady.
Thank you. No, I was given the mic.
Okay.
Do you mind if I say something?
Please
yeah,
speak.
My name is Pastor Kenga from Vihiga. Ningetaka samahani mtafute njia ya kusustain hizi program, mediators nini, because ile hali ya watu kutumikia fedha yao kufanya hii kazi it might not sustain these programs. And then tunatakiwa tutafute njia ya kunakili na kuweka katika sheria. We need to have the legal mechanism. If we should have acts ya sustain these things like mediation and so forth, because the way they are acting is hayward. And then lastly, I think the judiciary, Chief Justice angetoka tu na statement ya kuambia all CUCs to start this AJS and so forth. This idea to copy, to own a picture, it's supposed just to be something from the top, because I think the pace is slow. Why? Because we've left it to be a laissez-faire at the choice of any PJ or any CUC. Please, that's my request, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I know the Registrar of Magistrates Court may respond to that. The Executive Director of NCAJ is here. He may want to speak to the state of CUCs. Yes, the lady at the back.
Asante kwa nafasi. Mimi naitwa Daktari Martha Gayoye, lakini mimi ni mwanasheria na pia ninafundisha wanafunzi wa university sheria. Kile muhimu kabisa ni kwamba kwetu nilizaliwa Tana River, na tangu tuanze hii conference sijasikia fununu lolote kuhusu Tana River, na najua baba yangu mzee baba yangu ni mzee wa Gasa, tunaliita Gasa Kipokomo Council of Elders. So najua kuwa hayo mambo yanafanyika, lakini sijasikia lolote. So hizo counties za Lamu, Tana River huko, mambo yao ya AJS yataanzwa lini? Asanteni.
Asante. The gentleman, huyu mzee mwenye uko na muliro kofia.
Yes. Amjambo nyote. Mimi naitwa Ezekiel Rema. Natoka Nairobi. Nawakilisha kikundi cha muungano wa wana vijiji, na sisi mostly tunadili na conflict within the informal settlements. Kuna Honorable Chachi ameongea mambo ya Garissa, vile wameweza kuwezesha AJS ya Garissa kuwa na ofisi na through the county government. Mimi swali langu hivi, AJS imekuwa recognized kwa sababu ya the historia imekuwa nao, na mara mingi the conflict tuna solve zinaanza kwa community na zingine zinajangiwa kisiasa. The moment tutarao wanasiasa waanze kuamua vipi AJS itaendeshwa, tutapoteza ile umuhimu wake. So kama governor wataanza kupeana pesa, how can we control them wasichague watu yao kwa hizo committee, because tunaweka pesa hapo. Juu sisi wengi tumejitolea miaka mingi, hatulipu, tunasaidia kuleta amani katika community. Na hiyo ndio sababu ya AJS. So the moment tutaanza kuinfluence wanasiasa waanze kufanya hao ndio wanaweka watu ama wana support, automatically itakuwa kisiasa. Kwa hivyo nataka kujua how do we control that situation such that AJS ionyeshe sura yake ile ambayo tunafanya.
Asante. Let's go to the center here. The two gentlemen with, yes, the one standing and then his neighbor next.
Asante sana. Mimi ni Omodo Washington kutoka Busia. Mimi ni Secretary General wa Elders Busia under Malaika Foundation. Langu ni hili. Kumesemekana kwamba counties chache ambazo zimehusika katika mradi huu. Ninapendekeza kwamba magovernors wote katika taifa letu la Kenya 47 wahusishwe kupitia kwa His Excellency our Honorable Chief Justice atoe mwito kwamba wote wahusishwe katika mradi huu, wapitishwe katika haya mafunzo sisi tumepitishwa. Tunapotoka hapa tukielekea kule nyumbani, tutajaribu tuwafikie hawa magovernors, lakini huenda tusitoe ule moto ambao tumepata hapa akaelewa. Kwa hivyo ninasisitiza kwamba Chief Justice atoe sheria atoe amri kwamba wote wapate kupitia haya mafunzo, na jinsi wengine walivyosema, ndiposa mradi huu ambao ni muhimu sana utachukua nafasi hiyo. Naona our judges wamesema mambo mazuri na tunazingatia yote. Kwa hivyo tufanye hivyo. La pili, katiba yetu ambayo ni nzuri sana, imejaribu kutengenezwa, imeundwa, lakini kitengo muhimu ambacho ni cha AJS hawakuhusishwa. Ningependekeza kwamba katiba yetu hawa AJS sisi katika ile katiba tuhusishwe, kwa sababu tuko mashinani. Ni kusema kwamba mwalimu ndiye anaelewa the so-called syllabus, mtaala. Kwa hivyo unapofanya kutoa curriculum hapo juu bila mwalimu, utakuwa unafanya bure. Kwa hivyo nasema hawa walio mashinani wahusishwe katika kutekeleza vipengele fulani katika katiba. Nasema hayo nikishukuru wale waandalizi kwa hii kazi ambao wamefanya. Asante sana. Thank you.
Asante sana Bwana Washington, kwa sababu Kiswahili chako kinaeleweka. Pengine tutakufanya uwe mkalimani wetu.
Thank you so much. Jina langu ni Oprong Wycliffe kutoka Busia Malaika Foundation. I'm very sorry that we sat together but we seem to be talking on the same page. Si kuhusisha yeye. But because he has said it, I don't want to. Instead, niseme hivi kwamba in as much as the Garissa have gone so far, we are so many kilometers behind. So we are still appealing to the judiciary to come close or even get to the COGs, that is Council of Governors. Let them get informed that AJS is active, it's alive, and that we should not be left behind when others have gone far. Asante.
I want to take the last two for this round before we come to the panel. Mzee hapa katikati na yule yuko pale nyuma. Yeah, that one. Yes. That one first. Yeah.
Asante sana. Mwanzo kwanza ni tu nataka kutoa, jina langu ni Mohamed Salim kutoka Meru, CUC. Tungeomba labda katiba ya sasa inaonyesha kuwa hakimu wetu badala ya kukaa kwenye koti wanapata opportunity sasa ya kukutana na wananchi nje katika forum kama hizi. Kwa hiyo labda pendekezo Service Commission iwape majaji wetu somo la lugha ya Kiswahili. Manake jaji akisimama pale aseme nimeshindwa kuongea Kiswahili na sasa atakutana na wananchi outside the court, shida kama hizi zinakuja. Kwa hiyo tungeomba Judiciary Service Commission wawape nyinyi somo la lugha ya Kiswahili. Pili, nimechanganyishiwa kidogo between the court annex through mediators and AJS centers. Responsibilities zao zimenichanganya hapo kidogo, kwa sababu already tunajua annex court zinaendelea na AJS centers ndo zinaanza, na tunashukuru kwa wale wameanza. Kwa hiyo tungependa labda watueleze. Alafu la mwisho, Judge Monica, sijui kama sikuelewa vizuri, niliona kama koti yako inaridhika na wale union wa wafanyakazi na labda mnafanya kazi nao vizuri. Je, unamaanisha labda AJS haitaweza vizuri kufanya kazi nzuri kama wale watu wa union. Asante.
All right, the last one, the gentleman at the back.
All protocols observed. My name is Festus Lumumba from Nakuru. I appreciate the National Steering Committee, the work you are doing. But keenly observing, I've seen a problem with our court annex secretariat, because some of the individuals in those secretariat tend to act as magistrates. So I will request that probably a standard is established on how the secretariat is supposed to behave. Two, they tend to not working with the AJS, third party and autonomous. Hence, this percentage of people who are not assessing justice. Because you remember, autonomous and third party, they go even to villages to assist the communities. But when you go to court annex, there is some sort of segregation which is happening. So I will request that the National Steering Committee to address that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to bring our panel to respond. Tumechoka kidogo, tusimame dakika mbili. DJ, some music. Somali or Ma or Luya or... Let's stretch. Let's stretch. All right, let's be seated. Let's be seated. I know that a number of them were comments. So I'll just ask the panelists to choose what questions they would want to respond to. And I'll also ask Professor Joel Ngugi at the end to respond to some of the things that were directed to the steering committee and some of the issues that have emerged from the floor. I'll start with Judge Gatembu. Judge.
Asante sana Bwana Duncan. Pande ya Court of Appeal ni recommendation tu imependekezwa. Tuache kuandika mambo mrefu sana. Na tumesikia hiyo na tutajaribu sana tuhakikishe tumepunguza hiyo mambo mrefu kabisa. Ingine ya kuongeza ni kwamba tutajaribu tena sana kufanya sensitization ndio hii mambo ya AJS iendelee kusambaza. Asante sana.
Kuna swali moja nimepewa na pia nitajaribu Kiswahili changu kabla JSC wanifundishe. Sasa na pia nianze kusema mambo ya lugha ni jambo muhimu sana, na lugha ni part of AJS. Wakati tunazungumza hata ile sheria ambayo tunatumia pale kotini, percent kubwa ni lugha. Sheria imeandikwa kwa Kiingereza, ile employment contract imeandikwa kwa Kiingereza, mazungumzo yetu mengi pale kwa koti ni Kiingereza. Kwa hivyo hii AJS tujaribu tutumie mpaka zile lugha zetu za mama, kwa sababu hapo ndio tutasikizana na mtu kile kitu ambacho unatamka kinamaanisha nini. Ninaambiwa na wahenga ya kwamba wakati hata mtu anaota ndoto usiku, haoti na Kiingereza, anaota na lugha ya mama. Kwa hivyo tukizungumza kule mashinani kwa AJS, tutajaribu tunaondoa hata hicho Kiswahili. Kwa hivyo pengine hata tuambie JSC wasitufundishe Kiswahili tu, watukumbushe tuongee pia lugha ya mama. Kwa koti ya ELRC, sio mambo tu ya trade unions na employers tu tunazingatia. Ile conciliation inafanywa pale ni wafanyikazi na wale waajiriwa ni njia moja tu, na tunazingatia pia the other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms. Pia tuko na ile court annex mediation, na kuna mtu ameuliza swali ifafanuliwe ni nini hii AJS, tufafanue vizuri ndio tuelewe. Kwa hivyo wakati trade unions wanakutana na employers pale kwa Ministry of Labor, ile conciliation wanafanya ni njia moja tu ambayo inachangia kutatua kesi mingi. Kuna mtu amesema ati tuondoe hii mambo ya AJS kwa wanasiasa. I beg to differ, kwa sababu mimi kwa haya mambo ya employment na labor relations nimeona hawa politicians, particularly the Council of Governors, wakiresolve hii matatizo kwa njia kubwa sana. Tukiangalia hapo nyuma kidogo, tunajua tumeona migomo ingine ya kata na shoka. Shule wamegoma, madaktari wamegoma, nani wengine kule Kenya Airways wamegoma. The economy comes to a standstill kwa sababu ya migomo, na sana sana wale watu wameweza kutatua. Council of Governors wanachukuana na madaktari, wanasema wacha tukubaliane a return to work formula. Wale watu wa TSC, Ministry of Education, wanachukuana wanasema wacha tuzungumze, lakini walimu kwanza warudi kwa darasa. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi toa hawa politicians kwa AJS. Tukifanya hivyo, we will be shooting our own foot. Hiyo kwa Kiswahili atatatua.
Yes,
Asanteni sana. Commissioner, ningeanza na the first question. Ulikuwa umeulizia ya kwamba AJS imebalance aje gender parity. Nikipeana mfano wa Garissa pia, kawaida akina mama hawahesabiwi kuwa katika kikao cha akina wazee. Lakini tangu tuanzishe mfumo wa AJS, tulihusisha akina mama katika vikao vya wazee, na wako members of elders, na wanakaa katika hizo vikao kutatua yale matatizo ambayo yanaleta pale. Haikuwa inatendeka, lakini kuanzia mfumo wa AJS, akina mama wa Northeastern wanakaa katika vikao vya wazee na wamekubalika. Kuna mama aliuliza chambo kuhusu kesi inaweza wakati gani kesi inaweza tolewa mahakamani ikapelekwa kwa AJS. Kama kesi haijatatuliwa wakati wowote ule, parties wanaruhusiwa kesi iwe referred kwa wazee, isikizwe, na ile settlement wataelewana nayo, ikirudishwa kotini itaandikishwa kama order ya koti. Kwa hivyo hauzuii ya kwamba kesi imeanza, kwa hivyo itaenda kwa wazee. Kama kesi itatatuliwa, unaruhusa parties kuelewa ya kwamba kesi inaanza kwenda kwa wazee, aidha kwa niaba yao ama koti yenyewe inaweza kuirudisha pale. Kuna mzee alisema kuhusiana partnership between county government na judiciary. Sisi kama idara ya mahakama kupitia CUC tuko na uhusiano na other stakeholders. County government ni member ya CUC. Kwa hivyo our partnership goes beyond even CUC. Ushirikiano wetu, nikihusisia ule mzee alisema ya kwamba politicians wakiingilia mambo ya kuchagua elders, hiyo tuliangalia mbele. Na nikipeana mfano wa Garissa, governor hakuhusika na kuwatambua wale ambao watakaa vikao vya wazee. Iliachiwa wazee wenyewe katika clans. Wao wanajua wazee wa heshima ambao wanachaguliwa kuwa elders. Kwa hivyo ni machina tu inatolewa, inapelekwa kwa county government kwa sababu ya yale marupurupu kidogo. Na kwa hivyo kama hatungekuwa na county government haingewezekana. Na county government ilisema itaweka sheria, wapitishe sheria ambayo itaweza kupeana mwelekeo ni jinsi gani na ni nani atalipwa hayo marupurupu. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kuondoa county government kutoka kwa huu mfumo, kwa sababu ile role wana play ni ya maana sana. Hatuwezi kuwatenga kutoka kwa hii mfumo wa AJS. Kuna mama ameongelea juu ya urithi, succession. Wazee, kina mama na watoto watengwa hasa na uncles ama in-laws. Ningetaka kuwaambia tukifanya outreach programs huwa tunaimisha akina mama, watoto haki zao za urithi. Kwa niaba ya sababu ya yule mama ameongea hiyo jambo, najua kuna wengi wameathirika na hilo jambo. Sheria ya urithi inatuambia ya kwamba mzee ama mama akifa, bibi yake ama bwana yake ndiye anakuwa na nafasi ya kwanza kuchukua urithi, kwenda kotini na kupata ile karatasi tunaita grant. Kama hakuna bibi ama mzee, watoto wake ndio wanakuwa namba 2. Kama hakuna watoto, wazazi wanakuwa namba 3. Kama hakuna wazazi, nakuja kina dada na ndugu zake. Kwa hivyo yule brother in law ambaye anaingilia anaweza kuja kuidhisha urithi kama atatambua ya kwamba alikuwa anamtegemea bwana yako kabla hajakufa. Hana haki hata kidogo. Kwa hivyo ile kitu inatakikana ni kuelimisha akina mama na mayatima waelewe ya kwamba wako na haki mbele ya in-laws or uncles. Kwa hivyo mama, ni kwenda, kama ukienda kwa chief upatiwe barua ya kuonyesha watoto wako, upate cheti cha kifo na upate karatasi ya kuonyesha ya kwamba marehemu aliacha mahali fulani, uende kotini na upate haki yako mbele ya huyo brother in law wako, kwa sababu ana haki mbele yako. I think from the High Court, that's what I would gather. Can hand over to my sister.
Okay. Asante sana. Labda kwanza hapo kwa succession, nieleze ya kwamba kwa koti zote za mahakimu tumemaliza rapid results initiative. Tulikuwa tumefanya hii mwezi ya June. Ile mata zote za succession ama za urithi zilikuwa kotini na familia haina mzozo, tulizifanya. Na tumeona kwa sababu ni mingi, tutarudia hiyo exercise in August. Ndio kwa sababu saa zingine unajua kuna watu wanaleta maneno ya urithi, ingine labda kuna mzozano, lakini zenye hazina mzozano tumeifanya June na tutarudia hiyo exercise August. Kuna swali likuja that kuna mediator wenye wanajifanya mahakimu, lakini hii issue imekuwa addressed na committee, Mediation Accreditation Committee, na wameandikia mediators wote na wameambiwa vile wanafaa kufanya na vile hawafai kufanya, na ninajua Justice Odunga ndio chairman na amewaeleza hivyo that mtu mwenye atajifanya yeye ni hakimu ama atajaribu kuchukua mata kama ijakuwa referred kwake, then anaweza nyang'anywa hiyo license ya accreditation. Asante.
Asante.
Mimi nitajaribu kuongea kwa lugha. Kuna maswali mzee mwingine aliuliza ya kuwa hizi mambo za title deed na multiple na officials wale lands officers, na vile tulisema mbeleni ni ya kuwa ni muhimu sana, na kama sasa nitarushia chair wetu ya kuwa tutajaribu njia zote tuone vile engage wale lands officers, because hata kwetu kama koti yetu ile tunadili na mambo za mazingira na mashamba, hiyo ni shida hata tuko nayo saa zingine. Mara nyingi hata hawakuji kotini unless koti itoe summons ili wakuje, na nimeelewa hiyo mambo za several titles, because hata hiyo ndio jambo tunadili nayo sana kwa koti yetu. Kuna maswali mtu aliuliza ya kuwa at what point tunaweza kutoa aje kesi kutoka kotini to refer to AJS. Kama kesi ishaingia kotini, na vile AJS ni voluntary, ni ile kila mtu lazima kila mtu atoe uamuzi. Kama sisi ELC huwa tunakuwa tunauliza watu wale wako kotini kama wanataka kwenda AJS, na wengine wanakubali, wanaenda, wanaongea, wanarudi, tuna record hizo uamuzi kama orders, consent za kotini, vile nilieleza vile kwa tunafanya Kajiado. Lakini saa zingine kuna kesi zingine zile za corruption, zile za fraud ni ngumu sana kuzirusha AJS because pengine zinashika, hata utahitaji hata pengine CID akuje atowe ushahidi. Sasa hizo mara nyingi huwezi kurefer to AJS. Kuna maswali Duncan alituambia, commission alituambia tufikirie mambo ya interplay ya gender na AJS, na hata hiyo ndio kitu hata mimi nimekuwa nikifikiria ya kuwa pengine kama committee tutaona vile hata pengine wale wa AJS watajaribu huko, wajaribu waeke the different gender. Sasa kuna balancing, na hata jana tulikuwa naongea na mzee kutoka Isiolo, hata akaniintroduce kwa chair ya one of the AJS panels, a lady, a Samburu lady, and nilikuwa nimefurahia sana. Tujaribu sana sasa hiyo na warushia, tujaribu sana to ensure ya kuwa tumeweka both genders wakae kwa hizo mapanelists za zile kesi zaendelea. Na vile nilikuwa nimesema jana kwa side event, tujaribu sana to observe hizo principles za katiba tukifanya hizo makesi. Sasa hizo ili tusiwe na shida za mambo za gender. In terms of Judge Onyego asha respond on the issue of the widows. Kuna mtu ameuliza sana issue ya kusustain AJS. And hii pia ni jambo mara nyingi, kwa sababu mi pia nisha participate kufanya sensitization over AJS in some counties. Na huwa tunasema there are different types. Na ni voluntary, hata hela za kuja voluntarily. Unajua tukisema tuweze mambo za kulipa na also things sustainable ni inaweza kuwa ngumu. Sasa ile tukikwama then shida inakuwa sasa watu wanasema hatukulipwa, sasa hatutaendelea na kazi. Na ni nyinyi ndio mmejua the importance of resolving those issues in the community, na mlikuwa mnaziresolve hata kabla mambo za formalizing the issue of the committee being formed. Sasa hii ni something I'm just pleading also with the parties wale wanafanya AJS practitioners ya kuwa it's a voluntary thing, wajaribu tu waendeleze tu kuifanya as the discussions are going on, because resources are scarce. Hatuwezi wadanganya, resources are scarce. I'm talking now as a committee member, na lazima we have the committee has to work very hard, especially our chair atafute hizo mambo za resources to sustain the process. I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Justice Ngugi, I don't know whether you have something to add. That's it.
Commissioner, something to add.
Yes, Judge Onyego.
Prof. Chairman, AJS, I think this issue of allowances has been raised severally, mara mingi sana. Na tukiwa sehemu moja wazee wanapata kitu, sehemu ile nyingine ya upande ule haipati kitu, inaweza kuleta taswishi kidogo nyingine ambayo inaweza kugenerate into some corruption activities. So I think it's very important to be taken seriously and so fast, and see how judiciary can come on board, national government can come on board, because we have seen the other day in the budget, elders were provided for. It's a serious issue. Secondly, the legal framework on execution of orders arrived at through autonomous decision making. It is not properly captured in our laws. So where people renege, watu wakienda kinyume na maagano, wanaenda wapi? Execution itakuwa namna gani? Itakuwa ni kazi ya bure, ile measurement tulikuwa tunaongea haitakuwa na maana yake. So I think the Secretariat will have to follow on the legal framework on implementation or execution of orders arrived at through autonomous process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to bring this to an end. Si tumekuwa na session nzuri. Si tumeongea vizuri. Please, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Kwa sababu nikaona wengi wenu walikomaa siku za Nyayo. Tutawapea makofi ya Nyayo as they go back to their seats. Thank you very much. 1, 2, 3. Tena. 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 Fungua. I don't know what you are funguaring, but We used to say it. I would like to recognize the elders from Garissa and Kajiado. Please stand up so that we can appreciate you. You've been cited as a model county. Thank you very much, Garissa. This is Garissa. Kajiado and Garissa, you can see there are very many women. Mewaona? Kajiado. Asante sana. I know Nakuru is also doing very well. But we wanted to recognize those two because they have been mentioned here. Asanteni sana. And please share your experiences with other people so that we can make this better. Okay. All right. All right. That marks the end of the session. We'll take a group photo with the panelists, and I hand over to Jemima to make announcements for the next sessions. Thank you.
Okay, tumpigie makofi tena. Yeah, I want us to have enough time in the afternoon so that we prepare for tomorrow. Some of us have to go and look for the dancing shoes and practice some moves. So we hope that we'll end early and prepare for tomorrow. So we'll be going for lunch. After lunch, as we go for lunch, the following should remain behind so that you prepare for the next session. When you be coming back, we are not coming to this dorm, all of us, to this dorm tent. Those in orange are the ones who will come back here, okay? If your lanyard is orange, you remain here. I'll make an announcement. I have not opened the LTs. Orange, rangi ya manjano. Si manjano, rangi ya chungwa. Yeah. Kwa Kiswahili, rangi ya chungwa. Orange, manjano ni yellow, so rangi ya chungwa. Na ukiwa na rangi ya samawati. Samawati ni rangi gani? Na ukiwa na rangi nyeusi, kwa kimombo ni? Na ukiwa na rangi nyeupe, kwa kimombo ni? Na ukiwa na rangi nyekundu, kwa kimombo ni? As Daktari gets us the ontological map, the following should remain behind. Faith Alube, sorry. Bishop Henry Omae, Honorable Omwanza, Miss Rama Ibrahim Rashid, Honorable Lady Justice Lucy Nyambura, Miss Rachel Kagwa, Miss Kaltuma Bashir, Honorable Elias Mwendwa. I hope Honorable Monica Mnyendo is here. Miss Sophie Kaibiria, Mr. Abel Lokwete, Mr. Eric Mukoya, Miss Hilda Mkui, Mr. Umuro Guyo, Miss Lisa Kieti, Mr. Peter Kiama, I think is being represented by Mr. Kazungu or Mr. Wanyama from Hakietu. Honorable Justice Ruben Nyakundi, Honorable Justice Christine Ocheng, Honorable Justice Anna Maure, Honorable Elias Ngugi Mwendo, you all remain behind. Then the following elders will also remain behind: David Kasim Thuku, Bishop Henry Omae, Stephen Gitahiga, Richard Washira, Elder Washira Kariuki, Naomi Kimani from Nakuru, Mrapolo Bwana from Homa Bay, Mr. Ezekiel Loeri from Nairobi, Miss Ruth Lorraine from Kisumu, Benedict Ogola from Nakuru, Simon Olekerembe from Narok, James Matundura from Kisii, Nancy Onditi, Kisumu, Ahmed Abdi Set, Joyce Nairesia, Crispin Juki from Embu, Anna Wangidu Njaga from Embu, Sarah Nyaboke Keraro from Kisii, Fahan Barkatel Ali from Garissa, Amina Abdi Hussein Garissa, Kelena Olenchoi, who is the Vice Chair of the Council of Elders, Should we just applaud him? Can you stand up so that you all clap for him? He's the vice chair of the entire Council of Elders in Kenya, and also the chair for the Ma Council of Elders, representing all the Ma communities. Thank you. Joseph Olenkari, Gulet Shafti Digare from Garissa, Saimia Lonkoi from the chair of Kajiado Council of Elders, Daniel Olentekele, Namnye Klolio, and Sheikh Ali from Busia. So may you all remain behind. Let's clap for them. They shall be representing us at the CJ's luncheon tomorrow, and we are going to just have a good time with for all of us, and also with the CJ. So those in blue, the map. Do you remember we were in blue? Were in LT1. LT? Okay, so black LT1, that is the group for autonomous. The session chair is Honorable Irura. The next one is red. Number 2, LT2 was white. So LT2 is court annex that will be led by Honorable Justice Joseph Sorigon. He'll remain here. So white will go into white, that is court annex. The next one is red. That is David Njoroge, third party, so please remain behind. And the last one is blue, Rangia Samawati. So autonomous, LT1. White, court annex, LT2. Then blue, LT3. And then hybrid, LT4. Okay, let me go again. LT1 is black, autonomous, Honorable Irura. Court annex, LT2, white. Third party, LT3, red. Hybrid, LT4, that is blue. Then orange, sorry, LT, lecture theater, yes. Then lastly is jurisprudence, orange, where? Here. I'll go again. Autonomous, LT1, which color? Black. Court annex, LT2, which color? Third party, LT3, which color? Lastly, then hybrid, which color? LT4. Then last but not least is jurisprudence, which color? And they all come? So we'll have ushers to be able to guide us when you come back after, from lunch. We are breaking at 1:10, and you should be back at 2:10. Tell your neighbor, can you speak to your neighbor? Tell your neighbor, neighbor, we are coming back at 2:10. We are coming back at? Ask your neighbor, do you have a watch? Do you have a phone? You'll be my accountability partner. Enjoy your lunch. Camera people, please come for the group photo. For the photo.